I help you?
Hi, can I talk to Ian, please?
It's the real thing. It's a radio signal from another world.
This is the flavor. Hey, you're an old monkey hanger.
I am?
Drug-crazed old bozo, slept with just about anything with a pulse.
I resent it bitterly. You were either a monkey hanger or a codhead.
In actual fact, then, your carrot is a mutant vegetable. That's not a French spy. That's a monkey. Ian Collins and the creatures of the night.
Hello? Hey, what's up there, fruitcake?
Brace yourself. Oh, yes, and howdy diddly, and welcome along. It's Ian Collins, voice of the common man, showbiz icon, and, of course, all-round good egg. Welcome to the show, where big things, of course, are going to happen, because our last two shows before our last two shows this year.
It is.
That's right. Last two shows ever, I don't know. Because Rick Astley takes over.
Yes.
That's the one. Is it Rick?
It's Rick.
Is it Rick Astley?
Rick.
Is it Rick?
Rick.
Is it Rick Astley?
Rick.
John Astley?
No.
Dave?
No.
Graham?
Graham, that's the one.
Graham Astley.
Graham Astley.
Graham Astley.
Graham Astley.
No, it's not.
It's not Graham.
No, it's
Jerry Astley.
No.
Go on.
Gordon Astley.
Gordon? Is it Gordon? It's not Gordon. Look it up, lad.
We've got a bit of a sheet there.
Got a Christmas schedule here.
Graham.
Christmas. No. There, it's Gordon Astley. I'm saying it's Gordon Astley.
Gordon.
Saying Graham the other night, weren't we?
Well, I think we were saying Graham the other night, actually. So it's Gordon Astley sitting in for a couple of weeks, sitting in for us, sitting in for Dickon as well. And I know he'll be listening because he's picking up the ropes and stuff. He's been doing the job a long time, but I mean in terms of formats and things.
I've been picking up a few
Saying Gordon.
The odd tip here and there.
The odd tip here and there, that's right, yeah.
A few pointers.
Just saying, Gordon, don't be too good, Gordon, all right? Don't you be too good. We got our spies here. Anyway, it's 0500 1053 89. So, where was that leading me? It's our last couple of shows before Christmas. And there's something. There was a point to mention in there.
Let's make them good ones.
Did what?
Let's make them good ones.
Let's make them good ones. It's the last two before Christmas. So what we thought was, people have got plenty of golden issues this time of year.
They must.
And anyone who listens regularly knows what a golden issue is. A golden issue is one of those subjects that are like so compelling. Kind of subject, if you heard on the radio, you'd go to work and you'd tell all your friends and you'd ring your family up and say, you will not believe what I just heard discussed on the radio.
Yes.
And if you have that golden issue, Talk Radio listeners will not let us down on this, then call now on 0500 1053 89. Now, a golden issue, I must say, is something that generally has not been discussed before.
That's right.
So it ain't your capital punishment or your cannabis debate.
No. All
right? These are like highly original, never heard before kind of points and angles on subjects or issues.
Unique.
So unique. Folk will be flummoxed.
Indeed. You'll be sitting down at a Christmas dinner on Christmas Day, and you'll go, here, Granny, you'll never guess what I heard on the radio.
That's right, yeah.
And you go, what was that, love? And you'll go, the golden
Absolutely unbelievable.
That's the one.
Absolutely unbelievable. So, all of that. Also, I'm not having that. Things in life that occur, they happen to you.
Yes.
They come your way.
Yes.
Events, moments, situations, happenings, people, types of behaviour, rules, whatever it happens to be.
Things that get up your router.
Get up your router, and it makes you can only conclude the experience with that statement. Oh, I'm not having that.
Indeed.
You know the kind of stuff?
I know exactly.
That's the kind of... That's what I'm not having.
What are you not having?
I'm not having pubs saving on their decorating bills by painting their ceilings smoky old brown and yellow.
Do you know that?
What a bunch of cheapskates they are.
But
what a bunch of every pub.
Yeah.
Oh, I think we'll paint this one brown. We won't have to paint this one for another 100 years.
Indeed.
Oh, terrible. I'm fed up of looking at stinky brown ceilings in pubs.
Do you know why they do that?
Depressing.
Yeah. They do that to make it look like it's got character.
Oh, character. Yeah, that's great character, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like going back to the Victorian.
Ah, it's outrageous.
It is.
All dull.
You might as well put sawdust on the floor if you're going to extend those kind of logics.
Do you know what I'm not having?
What are you not having?
The other day I was walking along the street. One of your old beggars comes up to me. Excuse me, mate, got any change? So I turned and looked at him. And he went, oh, you're Miff, aren't you? I mean, good Lord, man, how do you know me? He said, oh, I saw you on the telly.
Really?
This man's got cable television.
Really?
And he's begging. True.
He's begging?
Begging.
I wouldn't be having that.
I'm not having it.
Suspicions, doesn't it, really?
Hey?
Like the old beggars, it confirms all your suspicions.
Absolutely, you see. Dodgy beggars.
Dodgy beggars.
Yeah, dodgy beggars.
Dodgy beggars.
Yeah. If that was starting a new feature next year called Beggars Belief.
Yes.
and you'll enjoy it. I tell you, it'd be a good insight into to folk on the streets.
It'll be a bit different.
So stand by for all of that. So we're doing some of that. School reunions is on the list as well, which you don't really have in this country. Does anybody have school reunions in this country?
My mum organised one, actually.
Did she?
Yeah, back in Germany, and it was...
So no, we don't have them in this country, though.
That's true, yes. But wouldn't they be fabulous? I'd love to do it.
I don't know if I want to have one, actually.
Really? Oh, I can't wait. It's only been 3 years or whatever, and I can't wait for it.
Because, like, the few people I want to bump into, I kind of bump into anyway.
Yeah.
From school.
I wouldn't want to bump into any of them merchants, I'll tell you. They'd rob
You
you
went to school with some devils, didn't you?
Oh, what? Riff-raff.
Riff-raff.
Nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah, I mean, it's big in the States, of course, and continental Europe, I think, do a few.
Yeah.
A lot of sort of private and public schools and stuff do it. But, I mean, your average comprehensive in this country, to my knowledge, doesn't really go big on school reunions.
No.
Should they?
I don't know.
Do they? We need a panto rundown.
We do.
Who is in your local panto?
Yes.
Where is it? And who are some of the big names and not so big names and, blimey, I didn't know they were still alive type names.
They're the ones.
They're knocking around on the boards in your local theatre. Let's have some of that as well. 0500 10 53 89. So it's any of that little lot. We're not going to let this Peter Mandelson story go by because I've got an angle on this, and I'm going to come to it in a second. Because the Mandelson's borrowed just a small loan of £373,000.
Piddling, mate.
Yeah, it's nearly £500,000.
It's very nearly.
What's up with the boy?
Well, you're going to borrow a few quid occasionally.
Blimey. It's the timing of when he borrowed it
And
what he knew that I'm going to investigate, all right?
All right.
I won't say any more at the moment. It's just it's the timing of when Peter Mandelson borrowed it and what he knew. And the number on all of this little lot, right? So we've got, I'm not having that, things in life you're not having. Panto news in your area, we'll have that too. School reunions, golden issue type stuff, whatever else it is you want to sling in, do so. The lines are open on the entire lot. It's 0500 10 53 89. Fax us on 0541 59 69 79. That's 0541 59 69 79. And if you've got an email facility, if ours is working, it's icollins@talk-radio.co.uk. That's icollins@talk-radio.co.uk. You can also visit the website. And the Ian Collins of the Creatures of the Night website is this address. You do not need the www bit, all right? You don't need that in there. It's just this address. listen.to/the-creatures. That's listen.to/the-creatures. And in there, there's like photos and stuff, and there's biogs and things, detail about Talk Radio. There's a chat room, this chat room facility. And if you are hooked up to all that kind of stuff now, keep your radio on, go into the chat room. You can chimwag with like-minded bods who are écoutéing to this program as we speak, all right? So get in there. That address again, listen.to/the-creatures. And also set up specifically for those who don't want to come on air but would like at some point to take part at some kind of level to this program, is this. It's unique and it's off-air. You don't have to get your voice on air, but it is a way of communicating with other listeners on an off-air facility. It is 50p a minute. It's an off-air virtual chat line. And if you want to have a crack at that, I mean, use it, don't abuse it. Use it for exactly what it's there for. Get on there and do whatever it is you want to do while you're in there. And we might send Miff out there later to get on there himself. So if you want to communicate in that respect, then stand by for one of his messages. This is the number you need to dial for that. It's 0930. 0930. That's the code bit. 10 53 89. Let me just repeat that. 0930 10 53 89. Remember, that's an off-air facility. It won't put you on air. You're not going to be enticed to stay on air or anything like that. It's totally off-air. Virtual chat line, messaging between other people, having conversations in that respect. Do so now. 0930 10 53 89. In the meantime, the conventional number is there for all those bits and pieces that are all up for discussion. Looking for golden issues big time. Things in life that you are just not having. Who's starring in your local panto? School reunions is here as well. Christmas stuff, anything that's connected with that. Jethro will make an appearance too. Not him personally, but a subject concerning him, and whatever else you want to sling in as well. 0500 10 53 89. This is Talk Radio.
This is really weird. On February the 7th, 1894, young Will Purvis was taken to be hanged for the murder of a farmer in Columbia, Mississippi. The trapdoor opened and Will Purvis plunged to his doom. Or would have, if the noose had not become unknotted and slipped leapt over Purvis's head. As it was, Purvis emerged from beneath the scaffold relatively unharmed. But he had been sentenced to hang, and hang he would. The deputies led him back up the steps of the gallows, and the noose, reknotted, was again placed around his neck. Again, the noose mysteriously untied itself, and he emerged unscathed. The sheriff proceeded to try for a third time to hang Purvis. But this time, though, the crowd of 3,000 had other ideas. They had seen a miracle, and as far as they were concerned, Will had been reprieved by the highest judge of all. Upon his vindication years later, Mississippi rewarded Purvis with the sum of $5,000. Strange, but true.
You've got an audience with Ian Collins and the Creatures of the Night. Ray, it's another bulging experience from Ian Collins and the Creatures of the Night.
Don't you call me that, you dim man. You should have called me dim.
Don't you dim me?
Well, you bloody well give what you can take and take what you can give. Put your mouth where your mouth is.
We're looking at golden issues. I think we've got one golden issue coming through at the moment. I'm told one golden issue on the switchboard. One coming through.
Yeah.
But like, you know, we need a million golden issues, because like if we don't get golden issues, we don't know what people feel passionately about. And golden issues, you know, there must be some of those quirky things stuck in your head all your life, and you thought, hey, here is somebody giving me a national platform to air this. Thank you very much. And you should air it.
Whip it out.
Whip it out, we say. Whip it out for the air.
Let us all see it.
Yeah. Absolutely. So if you can whip it out in the golden issue department, 0500 10 53 89. Let me get, in fact, on that issue, let me go to David, who's down in London. David, you're on Talk Radio, sir.
Yes, Ian, hello.
Hello.
Now, this was an insight that just came to me in a flash round about the election time when they were making all these wonderful manifesto ideas and everything. We'll make this illegal and that illegal. And it occurred to me that all these things are just talk, because people imagine that if something's going to be against the law, nobody will do it anymore. And think, wow, we'll get rid of all this horrible behaviour straight away. All that happens is that particular act becomes punishable. It doesn't stop people doing it.
Yeah, true.
So what's the point? Because we're always going to have criminals, we're always going to have theft and all the other things.
Yeah.
And the only alternative is to do what they do in Malaysia or something and have dirty great penalties for everything.
That's
just
right,
to
yeah.
put people off, which is a little bit savage, I think. So,
Apart from anything else, financially, we need crime.
well, I don't know about how do you explain that?
Well, you couldn't, you can find out economically, we couldn't withstand a life of no crime.
Oh, I suppose with taxes and everything, people couldn't survive if they didn't do a bit of work on this side. That's pretty
Well,
harmless,
there's
isn't
that,
it?
but there's a whole range of things. And the example that we always give on the show is things like at a train station, you wouldn't need tickets, because everybody would be honest enough to buy one. And
well,
therefore,
a lot of people do.
Yeah, but you wouldn't need turnstiles, you wouldn't need ticket inspectors, you wouldn't need rubbish bins, you wouldn't need people collecting rubbish, because nobody would ever drop litter. So the amount of jobs that would be lost as a result of no crime would
Oh,
be
yeah, but
phenomenal.
dropping litter, if it wasn't a crime, you could still clear up after people, because that's just public hygiene. I'm just saying that if you had stated 99% of people, if we made theft legal tomorrow, would you go out and steal? I'd say, no, of course not. You know, it's just totally against their moral values. You know, I don't think it would encourage people at all.
There might be, it's an interesting point, though, David. There might be, would anybody go out and nick something if tomorrow they discover that theft was not illegal? That's an interesting one. Would you go out and nick something if you discovered that tomorrow theft was not illegal? Would you go on the pinch?
I think...
Would you go on the delve?
But folk wouldn't be able to control themselves. After all these years...
People would... I'm sorry, I wish I had that much faith in human nature. I'd love to be able to sit here and say, no, it's morals. You think there's Christmas time coming up, right? Folk haven't got a lot of cash, you're a bit strapped. You go mooching around a large superstore and you think, no, do I pay for this £500 worth of toys, or do I just walk out knowing that nothing will become of it?
But as a moral question, I wouldn't. I really wouldn't. I can honestly say, cross my heart and hope to die. I really wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't. I'm voice of the common man, you know. I'm not about to do that kind of stuff.
Majority
Pop-up Pete,
would.
that's right.
I don't know, but I think I didn't say that.
No, not the majority.
I think the majority would.
No, rubbish.
No, because the majority...
Not the majority.
No, if the majority of people can get away with a cash-in-hand job, which is the same as robbing... Sorry...
No, it's not. Cash in hand job is not the same as robbing. What's up, picture?
I'm afraid it is.
It's not the same as robbing at all. Cash in hand job is just a way of avoiding... It's avoiding an element of tax, all right? It's like, it's just... Most people who do the odd cash in hand job might, a couple of times a year stumble across a cash in hand situation. Most people, if theft was illegal, wouldn't nick.
All right,
but some would.
Okay, how many people have you spoken to? 1,001 of them have said, "Oh, I'd love it if that." When you put your card in the hole in the wall machine, you're pressing your number, and it just spurted out all that money. I'd have it away with that. They would thieve it if they got money put into their bank account by their bank by mistake. They would have it. It's thieving. They would do it.
No, it's what's looked at as tangible theft. I mean, if your machine spewed out 200 quid to you,
yeah.
Well, and you hadn't asked for it, all right, then you possibly would. You'd whip that away, right? Okay, fine. But if the old lady that was there before you had walked away, and as she walked away, you saw the £200 come up, that's a different kind of theft. Because you feel then you're stealing from the old lady, whereas before you're just nicking from the bank, and the bank's got loads of cash, so well built up with one. It doesn't matter to them.
All right, then. How many merchants do you know that would... They'll wait until somebody walks out of their nice house and they locks it all up for the day. They'd go in, kick the door in, change the locks, bosh, they're in there. They'd squat. They'd have the place. No law against it.
Most people wouldn't do that.
A lot of people would.
Well, you're squatters, you mean?
No,
squatters are a damn nuisance and should be hosed down.
All right, another example. If you, say you owned a nice Jag, right?
Yeah.
Got a nice Jag. You go in, switch the engine on, leave it to warm up, the keys are in it. You go off, or you leave the car running while you nip in and do something. Someone comes along, there's a car running, that's mine. Nobody's going to nick me.
No, most people wouldn't do that, you see.
They would.
No, I'll tell you where most people would. They would if they went into, like, a supermarket and thought this is all free, because essentially that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to happen. You've got to give it back if you're caught. I mean, there is that process still. But you're not going to go to court, you're not going to be fined, you're not going to prison. So, folk all over the show be doing that. That isn't really... That's looked at... In kind of jumble sale fashion, you get into a different kind of mental ethic then. But if there's a car running on the street, most people aren't going to jump in it.
I tell you, they would.
The average person is not going to jump in a car that's running.
I tell you, how many people get their cars nicked every day?
All over the street, but rarely because one's running.
Yeah, but not because they're running. And theirs is locked up. It's harder. It's more difficult. If the people knew they weren't going to get nicked, would they be diving in your Daimler and shooting off the road like an old?
Oh, if they knew they weren't going to get nicked for it.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Of course they would.
Well, most people wouldn't, no.
Yeah.
Most people wouldn't want to do that.
Yes, they would.
No, they wouldn't.
They would.
They wouldn't. They wouldn't want to do that because it's again, you're looking at an individual person's property. And that's what people, people are very good at distinguishing between what is kind of like a crime against corporation, a commercial crime. People don't worry about it. It's like, you nick your envelopes from work and stuff. And it's, people just don't care, Well, we got a memo here at TalkRadio saying to do not put your own personal Christmas cards through the franking machine.
Indeed.
One of the senior directors here sent that memo around. Did anybody take any notice? Of course they didn't. TalkRadio don't know it. They've paid for about £3,000 worth of Christmas cards this year.
Easily.
Yeah.
But the people would thieve. They'd have things away left, right, and you can't put. I can't put a packet of cigarettes down in a bar with my lighter on it. I had that nicked the other day.
Did you?
I left my fags and my lighter on the top of a bar, turned my back, went to speak to somebody, walked back, seconds later...
Yeah, for folk, that's your thief.
Gone.
Your average person, if theft was legal, or it wasn't illegal, decriminalised, would not do that to your cigarettes. The average person wouldn't. But they might do it if they walked into a supermarket and saw a packet of fags. That's where you couldn't trust it.
But there'd be thievery all over the place. There'd be gangs of them running round. Absolute gangs of them.
0500 10 53 89. If theft was decriminalised, would most people nick? You can fax us as well. It's 0541 59 69 79. Whatever else you want to chuck in. I'm not having that. Pantomime's in your ear. So hello, is there not a single pantomime in this stinking country going on? Somebody must know what the local pantomime is and who's in it. We need to know. We want the kind of quirkier cast, the better. So all of that little lot and whatever else you want to sling in. 0500 10 53 89.
It's miserable. You're living in a place that's run down and overcrowded. Your kids have no space to play in and have to sleep in the cold and damp. You never thought you'd end up like this. But But if you call Shelterline free on 0808 800 4444, you can talk to someone who'll help. Give us a call before things get out of hand. Call Shelterline free any time of the day or night on 0808 800 4444. Shelterline is supported by BT.
Alan Parry, Andy Gray, Talk Radio. The only station that brings you the top names in football commentary and your daily sports show at drive time. The Sports Zone on Talk Radio, 10:53 and 10:89 a.m.
Your daily station. Swing your pistol. It's Ian Collins and the Creatures of the Night.
Now, I happen to know someone who is on the council,
Yes.
and I happen to know that the individual whose job it is to go out with the camera and act as a sort of dog-dirt spy, as it were, gets paid a salary of £17,000 a year.
Unbelievable. Totally unbelievable. So what have we got here? What have we got? Elliot, who faxes from Swansea, says, in our pantomime this year, which is Cinderella, we've got Melinda Messenger and Stephen Houghton. Apparently some bod from London's Burning or something. Something like that. We're back on the telephones. It's 0500 10 53 89. Dave is on the M4. Dave.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome to Talk Radio.
All right.
Yeah, what do you got?
I'd like to say, yeah, that if it weren't a this stuff.
No, we lost your mobile, Dave. No, we lost you. Your mobile's gone. Gone but not forgotten, I suppose. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to take this one into conspiracy as well. And this is Peter Mandelson, okay? Who was lent £373,000 by Jeffrey Robertson, for a loan. It was a loan to buy his London home. Now, this deal was not disclosed for more than 2 years to Tony Blair, despite that political relationship that's close between Mandelson and Blair. Whitehall officials were also kept in the dark until just a few days ago. The cash which enabled Mandelson to buy his £475,000 home in fashionable West London, and it's a flashy old pad as well. So obviously he bought it for, I assume, cash. Raises the question, of course, over whether the Trade Secretary breached the rules of ministerial conduct, which is quite interesting, because Peter Mandelson's department is at the moment investigating the Paymaster General. So there's a bit of a clash there. But here's the point, right? I'm going to kick this one in on a totally different angle. Here's the point. Mandelson borrows that money. How did he know he was going to be able to pay it back? How did he know that? How was he so confident that he was going to keep his job, keep his seat, that he was going to find himself in the higher echelons of government, which perhaps would enable a decent pay packet of pay? How did he know that? And the question here is, are elections predetermined? Now, I'm not jesting on this. Are elections predetermined? Does the public vote count for diddly squid?
Of course it counts. It must count.
How do we know?
Because it's plain as the nose on your face.
Right, okay, it matters diddly squid, right? How, in terms of how much cash has got to be raised in a country every year, it matters diddly squid which government are in, right? You agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, so they got to raise, let's just say, argument's sake, right? £1 million has to be raised every year to keep UK PLC running.
Yeah.
Okay, now it doesn't matter how you raise that, as long as you raise it.
Yeah.
Got to raise £1 million. So what you can do, you know, if you would have been the traditional left-wing government, you'd have spent more on health, more on education, more on social policies.
Yeah.
You'd have spent perhaps less on defence.
Yeah.
You'd have perhaps spent less on tarting around in posh suits and nice cars.
Yeah.
Okay. If you are, we're being stereotypical here, if you're the kind of right-wing analogy, then you might be spending more on your defence, a bit less on healthcare because you're encouraging privatisation, etc. But either way, you've got to raise that amount of cash.
Right.
So it actually doesn't matter who gets in, all right? Civil servants
run the country.
Run the country.
Yeah.
But there is such a thing. In order for a country to tick over, in order for a country to mentally function, for a country to have any kind of peace with itself, to have any kind of satisfaction as a people, there's got to be the illusion that things are running well. The Tories cocked it up big time, all right?
Yeah.
The Tories technically, in political terms, are still in.
Yeah, because of what is
Right.
the way the government...
Cosmetically, it was an absolute failure.
Yeah.
Cosmetically, the Tories were blowing it left, right and centre. It was all going wrong. It was like the old air bubble. They pushed it down in one area and it popped out somewhere else. You had the Euro splits, big time. You had sleaze, big time. You had ministers falling out, big time. You had folk jumping up and down challenging the PM, big time.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah, I'm with you on all that.
So cosmetically, the Tory party were finished. But the people of this country voted for very, very similar policies. And in some cases, more extreme policies than the ones that the last admin left us with.
Right.
So it didn't really matter in that respect, but there was an element, a mental feel in the country, and everybody felt some kind of euphoric relief on May the 2nd.
Yeah.
All right, the year before last.
Yeah.
Year before this one. Everybody felt that. Because it was like something had happened. And we turn on the TV and we see Tony and Cherie, walking down Whitehall, not in the car, walking down Whitehall, shaking all those hands. Poor Cherie nearly had her arms snapped off. And everybody kind of felt good. And for the next few months of doing this show, everybody felt a little bit better. Everybody had that kind of sort of, ooh, yeah, it's a turning point, something's happening.
Yeah.
That every now and again, it ain't just the politics that a country needs to be concerned with in order to make its country one. For its people to function, they need to have a belief and a faith and a certain aspiration about the party in power.
With you.
And that was always kind of there, sporadically with the Tories, and with all sorts of different demographic groups of people. But there were always pointers that you could pick out of Tory policy that kind of suited you. And that's why most people are inherently conservative. Most people are inherently conservative, because there was always something in there you can pick out. But people needed more. They needed to feel... It was like the car was in neutral. The car was in neutral. They needed to be shoved into a totally different gear. Tony Blair comes along. He's young, he's vibrant, he's a snappy dresser, he's a clever bloke. Comes along, presses the right buttons, everybody's very happy. Cherie's wife's a barrister. I mean, it's like a household way above the social status of Norma and John Major.
Yeah.
Okay? And yet these are the people that folk threw out the Tories for. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, that had to be decided at some level that it was needed, because things weren't going anywhere. You're going to end up with some kind of terrible, whether you want to call it rebellion, you might want to say revolution, I don't know. But folk were feeling bad. They needed something else. Civil servants. Yeah. Civil servants. I'm talking about the people that you don't see, the people you don't vote for, the people you know, whose names you wouldn't know. They put their fizz on the front of the paper and say, who the hell that?
Yeah.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
These people are earning twice what the PM is earning. These people are earning more than the ministers and the secretaries of state that they advise.
Yep.
That they technically work for.
With you.
Huge amounts of wonga. These people are picking it. They decide, hello, we need a change of government. There had to be a change of government on May the 2nd. There had to be. No doubt about it. Now, you can, on the face of it, superficially, you can say, well, the Conservative Party did that themselves.
Yeah.
No rhyme, no reason. But what I'm thinking here is, hang on, Peter Mandelston saw fit to borrow nearly £500,000.
Yeah.
Prior to his party being elected. He thought, I'll borrow that money. He was borrowing that money on a backbench salary of 40 grand a year. Show me a loan company that would give you that. Show me a loan company.
Yeah.
Somebody somewhere, I'm telling you, orchestrated, manufactured the Blair victory. Somebody somewhere made sure that was going to be in.
So what you're saying is that basically the people's vote ain't worth nothing.
Well, it's either that, okay, well, it's worth nothing at all, but I think that certain situations can be put out in order to make sure that people feel comfortable with a certain vote. And the illusion that the Tories were gone was certainly there, and the illusion that the Blair party were bright and vibrant was certainly there.
But that can't be right, eh? It just can't be right.
What can't be right?
The thing that the civil servant picks and chooses who's going into power, and the votes, they might as well throw them down the drain, because the votes don't count for nothing. Because
if more people, let me tell you, if the Conservative Party at the last election had a maximum amount of votes, had the majority of votes,
Yeah.
the most voted for party, I'm still not sure they'd be in now.
Right, I see what you're saying. I see exactly. That's wrong.
Somebody somewhere would have to say, no, we can't have this. This country cannot function.
No.
Because people really know that
Surely
actually
that's
you
the
need...
people.
But those in charge know. They're not worried about... It's nothing to do with controlling our lives. It's none of that old kind of claptrap about barcodes and stuff. It's about making a country function. You need a country to function.
Yeah,
it's just an economic thing. You need it to function.
see-
You can't function with what's perceived to be a brain-dead government, all right? A rotten, corrupt, horrible, brain-dead government. We've seen things happen with this party,
But surely...
equal to what happened with the last one. Nobody says a darn word.
But
Nobody says a darn word.
Well, I'm going to say a darn word.
Well, you try.
What I'm going to say is, if a government was in power, once they was in power, they would never leave power because they know that had been manufactured by the faceless bods of the civil service, and they'd never come out of power. All they keep saying is, "Oh, what should we do here? What should we do there?" Which is what they say anyway, and they'd do it, and they'd still be in power.
Why would they?
Because they just do whatever.
You mean they wouldn't do anything wrong?
Yeah, well, not as far as the civil service was concerned.
Well, you could equate that now. I mean, that would happen now.
Yeah,
I mean, the Tories.
Happen now, but they would still be in power, wouldn't they?
Well, no, because under the system that you're saying doesn't. My theory, you're saying is kaput. And you're saying it's all down to the democratic vote. Well, why didn't the Tories just behave themselves? Because they thought it was under the democratic vote.
Because they was incapable of doing so.
Well, they would be incapable of doing so under that system as well. Under my system.
No, they
wouldn't matter under which one it was under.
Yeah, but they'd still be in power, though, wouldn't they? Because it's better the devil you do than the devil you don't. The civil service would have just said, well, you might as well stay in power, and we'll just change your policies about. We'll have a radical change here with the old Tory party.
But it wasn't the policies, was it? It was the fact that they had shown themselves to be a bunch of half-baked baboons who weren't capable of running off. That was the image people had of them.
Exactly.
Even
that was their own fault.
Despite the fact that 98% of Tories never did a darn thing wrong, and most people in the cabinet never did a thing wrong.
But that was their own fault. Surely that was their own.
But that would happen still under... I mean, it happened under the system that you're saying works.
Why have the charade of a vote, then?
Well, because you've got to have a vote to make it look democratic. You can't say, right, okay, we become a dictatorship then, don't we?
Well, yeah.
Of some description. But not a dictatorship under the guise of any one person or any group of people specifically. I'm not talking about, the banker, the businessman, and it's not one of those kind of setups.
Right.
This ain't some sort of press baron type scenario here. This is just a group of people that know what it needs to make a country tick. These are basically economists. These are people that know that you need a certain level of public belief, public aspiration and public calm in order to make a country function. Otherwise, you're never going to get anything done. And also, these people know the ability of the human mind. And what happens is if people still feel that racked off under the Tories, that's going to just compound and compound. And eventually they're going to wind up feeling so darn low and depressed that people will not function. And economically, that is too expensive.
No, that'd be a hell of a fix to pull off. Because if the people was down in the mouth about the Tories, which they obviously was, they voted in New Labour, which they did. And that's why they was voted in, not because...
Why were they voted in?
Because the people wanted a change. I don't think the people know what they want.
So how did
really don't.
Peter Mandelson borrow 373,000 quid if he thought he was only going to earn 40 grand a year for the next 5 years? Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Well, I can't answer that, and I wouldn't...
Well, there you go.
I wouldn't be...
Peter Mandelson's exposed this.
Yeah?
Mandy, what's up with you?
I'm Mandy, fly me.
0500 10 53 89, or fax us on 0541 59 69 79. Adrian is in Luton. Adrian, you're on Talk Radio.
Yeah, I've got a comment about you saying that most people wouldn't thieve.
Yes.
What about all the people that are unemployed that are working on the black? They're thieving.
Well, it's not a tangible theft, is it?
It is, of course it is.
No, it's not as if you're going up to somebody's back door and stealing their bicycle.
But of course it is. You pay your taxes, I pay my taxes. We all get it. We all have to pay it. You ever tried to get unemployment benefits?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
Yes, it's difficult. And when you've got them, they don't take care of them.
Well, you can't make a general rule like that and say that applies to everybody.
No, I'm not saying it does.
Because the average person who works, on the side, is doing so in order to top up an extra 30 or 40 quid. Now, essentially, that is illegal and that is tantamount to theft.
Yes, I
But
agree.
who's going to blame someone for doing a job that brings them in an extra 30 quid a week?
I'm not blaming them.
That's human nature.
All I'm saying is that you can't honestly tell me that if you knew the lottery numbers for next week, you wouldn't put them down.
Well, again,
to win 8 or 9 million quid.
But of course I would. But what I'm saying to you, though, Adrian,
But
is that the person who, well, it depends how I knew them. I could have psychically mustered them up or something.
I doubt it.
That'd be my good luck, though, wouldn't it? But,
It would be.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, Adrian, if the person that is working on the side and earning the extra 30 quid, that person probably isn't likely to go and rob somebody's house.
No, I would agree with you, but on the other hand, you've got people, in my job, I won't say what I do, but we have an awful lot of people who come to us and say, can you pay me off the record because I'm unemployed?
Of course they do.
But they're looking for, it's not just 30 or 40 quid, they're looking for 100, 200 pounds a week off the record.
Well, they should be shocked.
Well, unfortunately, I'm not the governor, so I'm not allowed to do it.
Oh, that's taking the mick out of you and me.
Well, yes, but
And what they never understand is that it's also taking the mick out of people who cannot kind of get this idea together that that they and the economic system are the same thing, and they can't put this separation between the two, and that's what I kind of have a big problem with. If you're scooping in an extra 30 quid, I think everybody knows that. These ridiculous laws about when you're signing on or when you're in some kind of benefit capacity, you can't earn anything over, like 15 quid a week or something stupid like that. That's crazy, because we all know that people in these situations just can't survive, and you're watching every penny, really watching every penny. So nobody blames somebody for that. I don't know is there a level you said? You said, well, anything over 90 quid, anything over 50 quid. I don't know, where is the level where it's kind of, well, that's all right, we understand that, but that is out and out theft. Essentially, morally, ethically, whatever, same crime, but somewhere there is a level. Maybe you know what it is. 0510 53 89. We have some travel news in here. A multi-vehicle accident on the M6, which you may be aware of, but following that accident, which has occurred in the fog again, the M6 has been closed southbound between junctions 10 at Walsall, that's the A454 where it meets the B4464, and junction 9 at Wednesday. That's the A461. That's between junctions 10 and 9 southbound, because that's like that fog thing again, as happened on the M20 last week when 2 people were killed because of the fog thing. And worse still, you know how people, well, we've all seen it. I don't know who those drivers are, because you will all call me up and say, well, it's not me, and I know it's not me. So who are those arses? And we've seen them do it, and they drive down the motorway, and you're doing 15 miles an hour, and somebody goes past you, and you know they're doing 70 miles an hour. Who the hell is that person? Who the hell is that person? Because I know you will not tell me it's you. I know that. You will never meet that person in the pub. You will never meet that person in the pub. You will never meet that person who will ring you up and say, I couldn't give a toss, mate. Because actually, it's one of those offences or acts, if you like, where it's themselves that they damage first. So they are the prime victim. And nothing to gain from it. I don't understand it. All right, 0500 1053 89. Don't go away, Larry. We've got Richard there. Brian's there too. Lines are open. More faxes, more calls after this.
Rust for something better in your bedroom. It's Ian Collins and the Creatures of the Night.
I've got this image of you. You're like Queen Collins sitting on your throne. You've got little Pete on you, dandling him on your knee.
That's
and
right.
You've got little Sarah kissing your ring.
Pete,
that's what it's like.
Sarah's never kissed my ring in her life.
And all the sycophants there.
Despite many
it's like
requests to do so.
Mephitic atmosphere in there.
Yes, I know. It's terrible.
Disgusting.
You're jealous. Voice of the common man. Hello. It's Christmas week and stuff, so happy Christmas. It's a Smedley Moonbags who faxes us and says, our panto this year contains Andy Gray. Really? That's interesting. And Sonia, the songstress. It has some other bloke in it too, but I can't remember his name. Oh, well, never mind. They're all in that one.
Yeah. Everybody knows Sonia.
Little Sonia.
Is that the football Andy Gray?
It can't be.
be.
Was there another Andy Gray? I don't know.
There's an actor called Andy Gray. Is it?
No, there's not.
There is.
What actor called Andy Gray?
Oh, famous for it, he is.
Famous? No such actor called Andy Gray, you buffoon.
Of course there is.
Andy Gray, the actor.
There is.
And the nominee for Best Actor at this year's Oscar goes to... Andy Gray? I don't think so.
Andy who? Andy Gray.
Andy Gray. What you like? Brian's in Liverpool. Hello, Brian. You're on Talk Radio.
Hello, Ian.
Hi.
Okay.
Thank you. You got some panto detail.
I have indeed on the Liverpool's Empire Theatre. You got the.
No, I can. I'm absolutely sure you're going to have a big cast on this.
Well, we usually do, but this year we've got a homegrown talent. We've got Stan Boardman and Andrea Boardman.
Oh, you got Andrea.
Andrea as
Oh,
well.
really? With Dad?
Yeah, they've both been on local radio or on the morning shows.
Well, I don't know Stan, but I know Andrea quite well.
Yeah,
and
so-
they're both having a bit of a double act there.
Bit of a double act going on, and Puss in Boots around Christmas. Also, staying on the Christmas idea, though.
Yeah.
I've got. I'm not having that story for you. I recently went to a Christmas disco at my sixth form college. It was a fancy dress disco. And I was, I've been on the fizzy oranges beforehand.
Yes.
And I got there, and it was going all right, and I was at a nice smart outfit and all that. And I got there, and there was this girl I've been after for quite some time now.
Oh, yeah.
And her name's Jill. You'd like her if you met her. She's a nice girl. And
Sure, I would. I can feel that already. You see.
She's lovely, and she got brown hair and all that jazz. And I went up to her, and I think I said this. I went up to her. I asked her. It was getting towards the end of the night, and all the old dirty dancing music was coming on and all that.
Yeah.
So I went up to her, and I slowly built myself up to it. Took a deep breath, and I asked her to dance. And she completely blanked me out. And this big 6-footer came up, stepped in, and I walked away. And I turned round, and before I know it, he was getting into her like you wouldn't believe.
No.
I'm telling you.
No.
It's true.
Just took over your line.
I was devastated.
You should have been. You should have slapped his ankles.
I probably would have if I would have been in a proper state, but unfortunately I wasn't. That could have been a reason, and also the Nazi outfit could have, contributed to that a little.
I'm sure it probably did. What was he wearing?
I really can't remember. But
you should have noted that for future reference, Brian.
I should have. I saw him the next day, and I tell him I'm going to give him a few dirty looks. From a distance. But,
Lovely.
Wasn't the best of. Hopefully Christmas will get better for me. But
Fingers crossed.
Wasn't the best start to Christmas.
Never mind.
Thank
you, Brian.
No problem. See you
Good
now.
to talk to you. Set up 0500 1053 89. The bundle of stuff. At this end. Can you rig an election? Can you seriously rig an election? We're just trying to kind of we'll work out this Peter Mandelson thing. Don't go away, Larry, with you in a second. We've got Eddie over here in Gateshead. Eddie, you're on Talk Radio.
Hi, Ian.
Hi.
Well, first of all, the opinion polls before the last election showed overwhelmingly that Labour were going to get in, so it wasn't such a gamble in the first place.
Yeah, but the opinion polls at the previous election showed that Labour were going to get in.
Yeah, well, all right, but second of all, at worst case, he could have just sold the house again. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like he was going to buy something which he could have had nothing to do with afterwards. So, he wasn't going to lose out, completely. Maybe he would have lost a couple of thousand here and there. But you know what I mean? You
mean if he couldn't repay the loan, he could have sold the house?
Yeah, he could have just sold the house again. I mean, it was as simple as that.
But even so, how many people would do that?
Well, it's
a lot of money to borrow.
All the signs showed that Labour were going to get in. I mean, it was fairly. I mean, the country knew, that it was going to be a Labour government, and he just. I mean, he's a good politician. He knows what he's doing, and he trusted his instincts. And he was right in the end, because he got into government. I mean, you can't rig an election. I think it's a ludicrous suggestion. I mean, somebody came on Anna
would it be unprecedented for somebody to rig an election, Eddie?
Come on, look, everyone goes to the counts and everyone sees, and I mean, I come off it. I mean, this is a serious talk show,
How would you know that somebody couldn't rig an election?
Well, look, it would be too difficult. I mean, to try and think about it. I mean, how would you even go about it? Look, I mean, it's impossible. You've got all the different votes, different counts in different parts of the country, and you're going to tell me that you're going to have people in all of them rigging it all,
But we don't have any problem believing it when it comes to some kind of old antiquated Eastern Bloc affair, do we? We subscribe to all of that.
Yeah, but it's because all the employees are employees of the government and the state and secret agents and all that.
Yeah. So what's a civil servant then?
No, well, it's not civil servants who do the council votes, is it? It's council workers. I mean, you can't call them civil servants. It's like every local ward does their own count.
Do you think if you were to sit down over a period of time with a group of well switched on bods, shall we say, it would be an absolute impossibility to rig an election with the process we have at the moment?
Maybe not an absolute impossibility, but I'd say it was pretty difficult, and I don't think anyone would I mean, I don't know how you can even think about this.
Let's look at
really come off it. You can't really believe it yourself. I mean,
no. Well, let's look at the other scenario then. What about creating the right circumstances for people to vote a certain way then?
Like what?
I'm being quite conspiratorial about all this for the sake of the question. In terms of the fact that the Conservative Party were perceived to be rotten. I mean, people voted on cosmetic grounds at the last election. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, fair enough. But that's an accepted policy in politics. I did history A level.
Agreed. People always vote on how they think they are going to feel better.
It's called the time for change.
That's right. We have a war, and the very man that took us through it was out of office after the war. And I agree with what you're saying there. But do you think it's possible that somebody somewhere, if they really wanted to, could create the right environment for people not to want to vote a certain way?
By means of advertising or...
Yeah, I mean, it could be via... I mean, the press were unrelentant, weren't they, when it came to the last... the last election, stories of Tory smear campaigns and goodness knows what else.
Yeah, but I mean that's what it's all about. I mean you've got to show why your party's better and why the other one's worse. I mean that's what campaigning's about. I mean,
can a newspaper win a party in election? Do you think?
I think it can have a big influence, but a newspaper isn't. No one newspaper is bought by everybody or by a significant enough majority to make a big difference. But I mean, obviously they can have a big difference. I mean, we know the Sun's a Tory paper or whatever, or even if it wasn't at the last election, whatever. But I mean, they can have big influences. I don't think they can control an election. I mean, I seriously don't think. I mean, someone came on Anna Raven the other day when she was talking about the Gulf situation or whatever, and he said, she was making complaints. I wasn't listening too hard, but. He said to her, like, you're a talk show host, you're Agony Aunt, you're wherever you are. Why didn't you keep out of politics? Because the truth is, politics should be left to the political commentators. I think, I mean, with all respect your show and everything, I mean, it's a great show and I listen all the time. But I think talking about politics like this is a bit, I mean, you know, come on.
I think that makes you extremely narrow-minded. If you extend that logic, I mean, let's extend it for a second. We've got to remove politics from the newspapers.
No, I don't say don't talk about politics, but talking about politics like that is a bit... You know,
no, it's called Eddie. If you've got a history O level or whatever it is you've got, you said, or one in politics A level, then you will know that any good debate or argument can start out on the most wayward stem and eventually come around, following its logical conclusion, to a rather healthy debate. And as a political writer, which is what I am, then I would have thought that it's only natural that at some point we're going to bring up a very loose scenario, but if for nothing else, in a bit of a giggle, Eddie.
There's no harm
in that every now and
again. No harm in that. I mean, that's why I listen to the show. I mean, obviously.
And Anna Raben is a former member of the British Cabinet, so I see no reason why she shouldn't comment on politics. I think that's only healthy that she should do so. But there we are. Good on you, Eddie. Thank you for that, sir. 0500 1053 89. Lines are open and all that little lot. Don't go away. Sue, Larry's there as well, and Dave as well. It's Ian Collins, voice of the common man with the creatures of the night, and we return with more of my manifesto after this.
Ian Collins, and the creatures of the night on Talk Radio.
Oh, but I was just thinking about how dangerous that last comment was about leaving politics to the politicians. Well, if you were to do that and take that to its natural conclusion, and the very theory that we are banding around here about conspiratorial election rigging, etc., would be completely possible. That would be absolutely possible, a very real potential of any political system. You could have that, no worries at all, because leaving politics to the politician, essentially, could mean that we, in fact, don't even bother to vote. We wouldn't even be bothering about having polls on how people felt about certain fundamental issues and acts of the Parliament or areas of government policy. We certainly wouldn't have newspapers giving us as regular headlines. I'm talking tabloids as well as broadsheets, areas for discussion. We wouldn't have the enormous amount of people that queue up on Talk Radio to make their points known. I mean, politics is a very kind of overused word, this word politics, like it carries with it some kind of huge qualification. Until you have that, you're not in any shape, form or capacity qualified to speak on kind of any issue. It's crazy. That is so worrying that anybody would ever actually think that we should leave politics to the politicians. Everybody has the right to be a politician, be they a lay one or a professional one, a local one or a government level one, parliamentary level one. Everybody has that right. And blimey, the minute our minds start telling us we shouldn't be bothered with it, I've got a problem. Not enough people are bothered with it. That's when we pack up and go home. Right, if you're hanging on, don't go away. Let me on a different note here go to Larry, who's down in London. How are you, Larry?
Morning to you.
Morning.
I agree with you about the last caller. I mean, it's a bit dangerous.
Okay, fair enough.
Right. Last year, I received a package, and you know what it's like, just don't look at the address.
You received a package?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I opened it, and there was a copy of Office Pro 97.
Oh, yeah.
Quite an expensive piece of software.
Sure, yeah.
You know, and I thought, hang on a minute, I don't know all this. And I looked at the receipt.
At the time, that would have been a couple of £100 worth of software.
I know, yeah.
It's gone down a bit now, but yeah, you're right.
Whatever. I mean, for a student, that is quite a lot of money.
Sure.
So I looked at the receipt, and I noticed it was one of the other students. I didn't know the guy directly. I'd heard of his name before. There was absolutely no way for him to find out that I'd received it, because it hadn't been registered. But I just felt this moral obligation to take it back to him.
So you took it back to him?
Absolutely.
Even though he could quite easily... Did you sign for it?
No, that's it. It wasn't registered.
Oh, right. So quite easily he could have phoned the company and got another one.
Easily, yeah.
They wouldn't have had any problem sending that to him.
That's right.
Well, good on you, Larry. I mean,
Well,
did friends afterwards say you're nuts?
Well, I mean, bearing in mind, I'm actually an Apple Mac user, so it wasn't much of a loss.
You could have. Yeah, that's very true. You could have sold it.
I know, but the thing is, I mean, they're talking about corporate crunch. I mean, people are more inclined to break the law where big, I mean, we're talking about very large companies are concerned, but individuals, because I had a degree of empathy with this guy before. Yeah, had I paid for it, I'd been in this place, I'd have been very upset.
Yeah.
There you go.
Fair point. Larry, I thank you for that, sir. Thank you for calling Talk Radio. It's 0500 1053 89. Right, a bundle of stuff going on here. Hello, Sue in Runcorn.
Hello, Ian.
Will you bear with me a second, Sue?
I certainly will.
Don't you go away. We've got Peter in Cardiff. Hi, Peter.
Hi.
Don't go away. Peter with you in just a second. Are you there, Dave?
Hello?
Dave, don't disappear. All right, with you in a sec.
Right.
Don't go away. Over in Bradford, we got Bill coming on. Hello, Bill.
Oh, is it me?
It is Bill. We're
Hello.
with you in just a tick, Bill. All right.
All right, then, if you insist.
Okay, don't disappear. Roger in Bristol, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Don't go away, Rog.
Okay.
With you in a tick. All right, it's 0500 1053 89. We're talking about rigging elections, conspiratorial goings on at Westminster. Reference Peter Mandelson. How the hell did he know he was going to be able to pay back a £373,000 loan a year or so before the last election? Staggering, really. That's going to... What in life annoys the pants off you so much that you find yourself saying, I'm not having that? Those kind of little isms, be they corporate, domestic, in the shop, at uni, wherever it happens to be, it's acts of behaviour, it's certain scenarios or situations, whatever it is, just bug the life out of you, and you find yourself saying, I'm not having that. I'm calm, but I'm not having that. All of that. Whatever else you want to sling in, golden issues, who's in your local panto as well, and anything else that sounds a bit tasty. 0500 1053 89. Don't go away.
Talk Radio, can I help you?
Hi, can I talk to Ian, please?
It's the real thing. A radio signal from another world.
This is the flavour. Hey, you're an old monkey hanger.
I am.
Drug-crazed old bozo, slept with just about anything with a pulse.
I resent it bitterly. You were either a monkey hanger or a codhead.
In actual fact, then, your carrot is a mutant vegetable.
That's not a French spy. That's a monkey.
Ian Collins and the creatures of the night.
Hello? Hey, what's up there, fruitcake?
Brace yourself.
And stand by, because coming up a little bit later as well, we have 10, and you'll like these, funky festive facts. And they're all little facts that we winged together and spent the weekend doing this. We've got, in fact, tomorrow, being the last show, we've got 10 you never knew creature facts, which you'll enjoy. And up until then, we've got 10 festive facts. Sorry if I'm sounding a bit distant here, because I'm hooked up. Under my microphone lead. Right, plenty going on at this end. 0500 10 53 89 if you want to call on any of the subjects, which include, of course, election rigging, who's in your local pantomime, and if theft were decriminalised, would people in this country be likely to go out and thieve or not? Or morally, would they not do it anyway? Sue is in Runcorn. Sue, hi.
Hello, it's about the decriminalisation of theft.
Yes.
Well, if you decriminalise it, theft in itself no longer exists, so nobody could be accused of thieving anything.
Well, yes and no. The act of taking it without paying for it would still exist, so you'd still owe it to the person that you took it from.
Yeah, but fraudulently taking it.
Yeah, you'd essentially have to still give it back.
Yes,
but you'd find yourself...
But you couldn't actually turn around and accuse anyone if you remove it from the statute books.
Well, you could say they took that from my store and it's not theirs to take.
No, that's true enough, but if you offer to pay, it's different. It's if you're in the home, you see.
But would you go out and do it?
Actually, no, I'm not that way inclined, but I could imagine that quite a few would.
Do you think that if you discovered that stood in the middle of the town centre were 5,000 frozen turkeys, would you whip one for Christmas?
I got to think I would. I think anybody would.
Well, there you go, you see, because it looks okay, but you wouldn't think of walking into someone's home, would you?
No, but that's the point.
You wouldn't go over to Thelwall, would you, and nick something out of someone's backyard?
Oh, God, no.
Well, have you seen those houses in Thelwall?
Oh, have you seen some of them in Runcorn?
It's a lovely place. What are you talking about?
Oh, my gosh. Land of the living dead. No theatre, no cinema.
There used to be a theatre in Runcorn, didn't there, a few years ago?
Well, if there was, I didn't see it. It must have been closed all the time.
Blimey.
Terrible. But I just thought, like, if you're decriminalising it and removing it from the statute books, then it no longer exists, in fact.
But you wouldn't do it anyway?
Oh,
apart from the turkey?
Oh, God, yes, and it's Christmas, dear.
Well, listen, grab me one when you see it,
And to the man that was on earlier, who was talking about people who work while signing on, that's defrauding Her Majesty's Inspectorate of Taxes.
It is, but would you have an inkling to want to see somebody arrested if they had hardly any money and they were doing it for an extra 20 quid a week?
No, you wouldn't want to see that because.
But where's the fine line, though?
The fine line. How do you actually get a fine line when you look at the average earnings?
See, if somebody's doing a job on the side and it means they're bringing in an extra 20 quid a week, we all almost applaud what they're doing. But of course, if they're doing a job that's bringing them in an extra 750 quid a week and they're also taking another 500 in various benefits from the state, then we have a problem with it.
Well, I'd like to
know. But the crime's the same.
Well, I'd like to know how they're getting £500 worth of benefits from the state.
Well, it's amazing the amount of people are. You look at some situations where you've got an entire household who are all signing on and they have a variety of benefits entitled to them, be they disability due to some
housing
other
benefit
form of whatever. It can soon mount up. And entire houses are doing fairly well out of earning a living from the dole.
My God, I wish I could.
Well, don't we all? But the very people that are defrauding it don't seem to understand that it's also their system. And until we kind of put the two together and take a responsibility for the system that in fact is there to serve us, we'll always be in that situation because folk can't differentiate, certain folk can't differentiate between the two. So, Dave's on the M4. What do you want to say, Dave?
Hello, yeah, I want to say that if it was legal to thieve things, then people would thieve them.
Yeah,
everybody would.
Well, it depends what you'd thieve, and would you go sit around someone's house and do their TV and video?
Well, if it weren't illegal to do it, yeah, of course I would.
But then
they're going to do it to me, aren't they? Do you know what I mean?
Well, not necessarily.
Well,
because I wouldn't do it to you.
Oh, you wouldn't?
Well, you see, if I was mooching around Tesco's, right, and I was a bit hungry, then I might half-inch one of those packs of sandwiches.
Well, all right, what about if you're walking down the street, and you find a wallet, and there's someone's wallet, and there's £100 in that wallet.
Yeah.
You're going to take that £100 out and then hand the wallet in. Of course you are, because no one's going to know.
Well, yeah, but that would occur now, wouldn't it? You're still faced with that dilemma. Do you give the money in or don't you?
But it's still someone else's property. You know who it belongs to.
So what if you found the wallet then, Dave, right?
Yeah.
And inside the wallet was also a bus pass for an elderly lady of 87 years old. What would you do then?
Then I'd probably give the money back.
Ah, you see? So we will only commit the crime if we're satisfied that the circumstances aren't really affecting an individual, particularly one that we quite like.
Yeah, well, if it's affecting someone like the elderly or someone who's handicapped, of course. But if it's affecting someone like me, for instance, I'm 22 years old. If it's affecting someone like me, then I'm going to nick it. They'd nick it from me.
Yeah, but
that's the way society is.
So you're saying it's dog eat dog?
Yeah, of course it is.
But it might. But do you see the difference between defrauding a company and defrauding the individual?
Yeah, I do.
Because I think there's a big difference between walking into a shop and taking away a bit of grub and walking into somebody's backyard and nicking the kid's mountain bike.
Well, not really, because someone still owns that business. Do you know, you're still nicking from somebody else.
Agreed that the crime of theft is still the same, but I think in people's heads we try everything in life we try and rationalise and look for the quickest and most convenient explanation. And of course, if we go into a big department store, we're satisfied that the bloke that owns it is a multi-millionaire and
got enough money.
He can afford to lose a bit of grub over Crimbo, you know. It doesn't matter. But of course, if we go into a backyard and we see the little mountain bike there, we're thinking, now hang on a sec, we don't know. Even if it's a private house and not a council one, we still don't know that person can afford to lose the mountain bike.
But that's not the point, is it? Well, the point is that if they're going to do it to you, why shouldn't you do it back to them? Why not?
Because you don't know that everybody is going to do it to you.
The majority of people would.
No, I don't think that. I think the majority of people will do the Tesco thing.
No,
I don't think the majority of people will start robbing each other's houses.
Well, you must live in, like, a really nice area or in a dream world or something, because from where I come from, and, like, everybody I know, that's what it's like. It's look after yourself, look after number one, and to hell with the rest of them.
Yeah, but I think everybody does that already, but I don't think even people now. Otherwise, we'd have people half-inching all over the show now. And the average person is not a thief, are they?
But you can get punished for it now. You go out and nick
but anyone who goes... We all think we could commit the perfect crime, right? If I said to you, if me and you got together over a pint, Dave, and I said, right, see that house over there, what's the chance we could do that house over without getting caught? The chances are, if we really had our wits about us, we could probably do it.
Yeah.
So most people who nick don't think they're going to get caught anyway, do they?
Yeah, but there's still the deterrent of being caught. Do you know what I mean? If you're going to get caught, then you're going to be sentenced for something or you're going to be fined. But if there's not that element of... If there's not that deterrent, then you're going to go and do it. Because at the end of the day, all I'm going to do is give that bloke his car back and go, I'm sorry, mate, I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, I know what you're saying there, but if you wouldn't steal the £100 off the old lady...
Yeah.
Then why would you steal the mountain bike off the young family?
Because the old lady needs the money.
Well, you don't know that the young family don't need the money.
If they're living in a private house in a posh place, I do.
No, you don't. That's exactly why this world is crackers. Because everyone thinks if you've got a private house, you've probably got insurance, so everything's all right. But it's not, because we know it isn't. Most people live in private houses, and half the council houses are private.
Yeah. I live in a private house myself.
They're not all rolling it, are they?
No. But I'm not rolling in it, yeah, but if someone nicks off me, then why shouldn't I nick off... Do you know what I mean? Why shouldn't I nick off them? Why the hell should I just sit back and go, oh, well, I'm not going to nick off you. You need it more than I do. I'm sorry. I'll be a good boy. You nick off me, that's fine.
Yeah, sure, but that's revenge, isn't it? That's if you're acting out of revenge for a crime committed against you. But if tomorrow it wasn't illegal to go around and nick somebody's bits, and you had no crime committed against you, Dave, why would you go around somebody's house and nick their little kid's mountain bike?
Because I want it.
Yeah, but I don't think you do.
Well, I don't actually want their mountain bike.
Because you've got a car.
Well, yeah, it's not my car, but yeah.
Oh, yeah? Is there something else you want to tell us?
No.
So you reckon it's a dog-eat-dog society?
Yeah, I reckon that if you're not going to get punished for it, you're going to go and nick it.
So maybe, let's just extend that argument. Thank you for that, Dave, by the way. Let's extend that argument then, OK? Should we, right, just do away with all this namby-pamby nice to each other stuff, right, and forget civility and just say, right, this is dog-eat-dog, because I actually see it kind of, like, partially going this way, with the sort of haves and have-nots. And I've had a sort of experience over this myself quite recently with the builder thing. You know, I was telling you about the builder thing last week and the builder wanting his Wonga and, you know, not quite, you know, understanding the situation. Him thinking, well, you know, he can afford to pay me that. Well, it never was the issue. And there's all of those things going on, right? And I see that, you know, the CCTV mentality that we got used to in the streets, and it's already there a little bit, it'll be commonplace around people's houses in a matter of years, right? And just in a few years' time, you're going to see the cameras at the doorways, you're going to see the lights, you're going to see more houses with big fences, you're going to see the barbed wire, you're going to see the guard dog. Folk are going to protect themselves because people are going to go out, people who feel that they're, I wouldn't say disenfranchised, but that they might as well be for all they feel that someone is doing for them. I think they're that group of people, unless somebody in government is going to be really, really clever, right, and sort of, come up with the goods big time and put a safety net there for a whole group of people, and it's arguable whether they should or not, then a huge amount of people, I can see this kind of strange, bizarre sort of social uprising, rightly or wrongly, I'm not quite sure, who are going to be on the street, on the march almost, thinking exactly what we were just discussing. Why should they have? I haven't got it. Why should they have it? You're not telling me they work that hard for what they got. They're just the lucky. They're the haves. I'm the have-nots. I'm not having that, quite frankly, and therefore I don't see any reason why I shouldn't take from them. And you'll have groups of people bombarding them themselves in their own homes like a flipping castle. We'll go back to that mentality. The Victorian age is returning to this country. It's returning big time. We're back to being searched as we go into pubs and clubs now to check if we've got a weapon on us. There are some pubs and clubs, if you haven't got a weapon, they give you one. That's a kind of area that we're looking in these days. So perhaps we're going back into the Victorian times and it's all reversing and not going forward. And maybe the millennium's got a kind of a spiritual upturn on that as well. Any angles you want to tackle with that, love to hear them, because some great theories knocking around on that one. 0500 10 53 89.
Ray, get between the sheets with Ian Collins and the creatures of the night.
So you run a nudist camp?
Yeah, I do, Dean. And I thought your listeners might be interested in it.
Probably not, but try us. Talk Radio on a... where are we? Where's these headphones? Those ones there, that's it. Talk Radio on a... is it a Tuesday?
It's a Tuesday, sir.
It's a Tuesday. Now, this is interesting, right? Because we've got a fax here from Ricky. Now, I've got to tell you, Ricky, this is a bad show, right? Bad show from my comrades here in the studio. Because on Friday, right, we were out for a proverbial beer.
We were, indeed.
We were out for a proverbial beer. So, there we were. Now we arranged to meet on the Mile End Road.
We did.
And this is down in London, all right? So everybody who's not in London understand that, right? It's a famous road. And so we arranged to meet there. And Miff said, let's meet by the wine bar. Okay, so I'm racking my brains here, and I'm thinking, which she said it's just next to the tube station.
Yeah.
Did you know? So I'm thinking, now, hang on a second, there is no wine bar next to the tube station. And Miff says, no, there is a wine bar next to the tube. So I turn up there, as arranged, and of course there is no wine bar next to the tube station. So we eventually wind up like half hour late in a pub which I would say was of dubious quality.
Very dubious.
Dubious, to say the least.
Dubious, to say the least, right? So what do? Do we go west? Do we go east? And we happened to suggest, and I think it was Pop-Up that suggested this.
I think it was.
Just round the corner from where we were stood at that very second, in fact, a stone's throw, Ricky Grover was performing.
He was.
And so the decision was, do we go see Ricky? Go Ricky, we thought. Go Ricky. And we decided... we thought there's a problem here, because we thought, right, number one, and we actually sat and debated this for like 15, 20 minutes. Number one, we go down there, and we know it's going to be sold out.
Yes.
We know it's going to be sold out, because we got in that situation once before.
We did.
But number two is we just go and sit in the bar downstairs.
Which you could be a bit down.
Which we decided not to, because we've seen the bar downstairs when the show's on upstairs. We thought that's, we're going to be stuffed then, aren't we?
Yeah.
Number three was that we go to the door and say, because when we went there last time, the woman on the door listened to us.
Yeah.
And we thought, this is a result. So she's just going to let us through.
Yeah.
So she let us through, even though they were full.
Yeah.
But still charged us 15 notes apiece.
That's right.
So we're a bit put out by that, and we thought, we're not having that. So we thought, we go down there, we just say, we're mates of Ricky's, and no probs. And I said, Mr. Diplomatic, voice of the common man, you cannot put Ricky on the spot like that.
You did.
So, Rick, we were going to come and see Ricky, because I think it was on the telly on Friday night as well.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I think it was on the stand-up thing.
I'd have seen that.
And, so we never did end up seeing Ricky for that very diplomatic
I think we could have got in there.
I think it would have been only two.
Yeah, but you see, if Ricky had had mates, he might have already had, like, 5 mates. And he's got a horde of female following.
Oh, we know about them.
Big time.
Oh.
They can't leave him alone. Can't leave him alone.
Chase him everywhere.
Talking about top comic Ricky Grover here, by the way. One of the funniest men in this country, and we could have seen him Friday.
We could have.
But we in the end, we didn't.
Still had a reasonable night, though.
We did have a reasonable night in a very strange bar.
Very bizarre,
What sort of bar was that exactly? It looked like the last bar in the world you'd ever go in. The absolute last bar you would ever go in your life, this thing.
I love that boozer.
And it's just kind of like run by this fantastic woman who just says, I'm going to keep this open all day. And all night.
And we walked in, the first thing she did was buy us all a drink.
She did.
Didn't even know you from
And then she knocked over two herself.
Indeed.
And she was dancing on the table.
She was dancing on the table. Blimey.
Great pub.
Anyway, Ricky says, Happy Christmas, you rotters. Does he say that? I don't think he does.
That says rotters.
Of course, voting is a load of old cobblers. They already know who they want in. So if 1 year hardly anybody could be bothered to vote, except for some BNP nutcases, do you think they would let them in? Of course they wouldn't. A vote is just to make you feel like you're part of the coup. Like you've got an input. Most people who are self-employed have to cheat their tax, otherwise it's not worth it. I don't mean cheat out of greed, I mean cheat out of survival. It seems strange that the government should force people to be dishonest. Good point. And a true story. My mate's does that say rationality?
Recently.
Oh, my mate recently did a benefit above a boozer for the Big Issue mob. The night went well until the last bell, and the landlord shouted, come on, ladies and gentlemen, haven't you got homes to go to?
It's a standard case for that, right?
Sorry, I delivered that with absolutely the worst timing in the world. I didn't do that any justice. And spare a thought for turkeys this time of year. Shouldn't we give some other bird a... Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Ricky, for that. Right, we're back on the telephones at this end. What's going off here? Where are we going? I think we're going... are we going there?
Yeah,
I suppose we ought to go there, haven't we? Yeah. This is Peter in Cardiff. Peter, you're on Talk Radio, sir.
Good morning.
Hello. Thanks for hanging on.
About election rigging.
Yes.
It's being done right now here in Wales.
All right, we've spoken before, Peter.
Yes.
I thought we had. What's going on there? We're talking the Welsh Assembly, I presume.
Yeah. Tony Blair has decided he wants Alan Michael as the leader of the Welsh Assembly. So, to enable this to happen, the Labour Party have refused point blank to allow one member, one vote. So they've got this electoral college. Part of it is worked by people who are standing for the Assembly, part of it by the trade unions, and part of it by the political party members. Now, this means that the unions are voting the way Tony wants, the members and most of them are voting the way Tony wants, so we're ending up with a rigged election. Now, Alan Michael, who is the Secretary of State for Wales due to Ron Davis's little unhappiness, has decided now that he is not going to stand for a seat in the Welsh Assembly. I should perhaps explain that the Welsh Assembly elections are run on a complicated system where you have constituencies and you also
What's he going to stand for, then?
Proportional representation.
Oh, yeah.
And this is made up of lists. So Alan Michael has now decided that he is going to stand for North and West Wales list. Now, he is the MP for Penarth and Cardiff.
That's correct, yeah.
So, who is organising these lists? Because obviously, the closer to the top of the list you get, the more chance you have of being elected. Who's organising
So it's down to who's organising the lists?
Yeah, Alan Michael.
So Alan's organising the lists?
Yeah.
That's his public brief?
Yeah.
That's what he's doing?
Yeah, and the other thing is, he intends to remain as a Member of Parliament.
Yes.
Which is about 30,000 a year.
40.
Well, okay, 40.
Bit more as well, actually.
He's also going to remain as Secretary of State for Wales.
Yeah.
Which is a Cabinet Minister, which is an extra 30.
Yeah, a bit more as well.
Right. He's also going to be a member of the Welsh Assembly, which I should imagine would be about 30,000 a year. And he's also going to be First Secretary, which I should imagine would be about another 30,000 a year.
He's not backwards and coming forwards, is he?
No. And I mean, they are claiming that this is going to be a democratic election.
Yes.
Don't make me laugh.
What's going on? Peter, I thank you for that, sir, as always. 0500 10 53 89. Let's go to Bradford. Hello, Bill. You're on Talk Radio.
Hiya, how you doing?
All right.
There's a number of things here that you've talked about. You know, I could pick up on the last guy, you know, who's talking about the lack of democracy within the Labour Party, you know, within Wales. But, you know, I would submit, you know, to any of you who care to listen that actually there is no democracy in the Labour Party. The experience that the guy who just talked about is happening all over the country, really. Do you know what I mean?
How do you think there's no democracy?
Pardon?
Do you think this is no democracy of British politics or just the Labour Party?
Well, I want to go deeper than that, to be honest. You
know, go as deep as you like, Bill.
Hey, I've known that sexy talk, if you don't mind. But, what
you old vixen. Go on, far away.
What I'm saying is, what the Welsh guy, what the Welsh guy just described, I think, you know, any of you listening who knows will find that that's exactly the experience that they're having. That actually local candidates and there's that dirty word socialist, you know, that they don't want used, but and candidates are being imposed by Labour all over the country. Do you know what I mean? And people at local level who are good local Labour activists, you know, are suffering the same thing. And so swiftly moving on.
So are you saying that people they're rigging the candidate? Well, not rigging. They're just putting the right kind of candidate there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but people are still voting for them, Bill.
Well, you know,
people are still democratically exercising their vote. Say what?
Can I say pissing people off? Can I say that?
Well, you just did, but don't say it again.
All right, I won't. But that's what's occurring. They're miffing people off all over the country because they're actually imposing candidates. These are not.
Yeah, but if you run the party, I mean, if you are the chairman, the leader of that party, I mean, it's your right, surely, as the organiser, the manager of that party, as the primary minister, to surely suggest which kind of people you want represented in it.
Well, the kind of party you're talking about is the Labour Party, and that kind of party is a party where.
Yeah, but we're not talking about old Labour here, Bill.
I'm sorry?
We're not talking about old Labour, are we, anymore? Different kind of Labour.
Well, you might not be, but I mean, that's why I want to talk about this notion of democracy. Because candidates are being imposed on Labour constituencies and at local level that people don't actually want. People want the people that they know. You may well call them old Labour, but if that means that the people on the ground that are doing the work for the Labour Party, you know, are being...
Yeah, but Bill, do you really want to go back to that old socialist thing?
Well, what socialism are you talking about, Ian? Because what I'm saying to you is there is no democracy. It's a myth. I mean, if 26% of the registered voters, for instance, in America, is a mandate for power, right? And I don't know what percentage of the people who voted for Labour or voted at all. That's what I'm trying to get.
Well, like all elections, in the last few elections in this country, most people didn't vote for the party that got in.
Right. Well, what I'm submitting to you is
you want PR, do you?
Well, what I'm sorry, say that again.
You want PR, do you?
No, do I heck? What I'm saying is, this whole notion that we live in a democracy is a myth, and it's an absolute nonsense.
Would you say it's as democratic as it could get?
No, absolutely not.
How would you get it more democratic?
How do we get it more democratic?
That's what I just asked you.
Right, well, that's just give me some space to think, you know what I mean? How do we get
in
more
true political style?
Well, for instance, we have to talk about what democracy means and what actually it is in the first place.
You see,
what do most people understand by democracy?
Okay, what I'm saying to you, Bill...
I'm sorry?
Look, all I'm saying to you is that if Tony Blair, puts let's say that you're a true grassroots socialist, and Tony Blair puts a candidate in that you are nigh unconvinced does not represent your socialist views. The candidate that's been put in is a local multimillionaire businessman that you know damn well hasn't got a say.
Is it? That's not likely.
No, it is likely that they put that candidate in. Well, it's quite likely. So they put that candidate in, right, and a grassroots socialist thinks, hang on, this is rigged. This is no way, because I'm not being represented.
Yeah.
There's nothing to stop a grassroots socialist standing in the same election.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that pro-Tony Blair, New Labour, these people, this is not really what I want to talk about, but what I'm saying is, and the guy who last spoke before me knows this is the truth, that candidates are being imposed from the top down, not what people who work at the grassroots level for Labour.
Yeah, but if you disagree with the candidate, or if you think there's a pattern here, and you disagree with the style of candidate, there's no reason why you shouldn't stand yourself.
Right, so what we come down to is this notion of democracy and actually getting elected to Parliament, isn't it? And this is actually what I wanted to talk about. What democracy? What democracy? You can vote for
the democracy that you can stand if you want to, Bill.
Ian, there's something hidden here. There's something hidden. This notion of democracy that we elect these people that somehow, carry out our wishes.
Yes.
Has been proved in practice, and I don't understand why it's taking so long for people to understand this. The people that you elect are office boys and girls. They're office boys and girls.
I'm with
the
you
real
on that.
power lies within multinational corporation boardrooms, and it lies in the workplace. In two places, the workers and with the bosses. Right? The rest is just an absolute myth,
But all the workers want to be the boss.
The workers want to be the boss.
Yes.
No, the workers want a fair deal, mate.
They want to be the boss.
And that's why people, who've supported Labour.
How do you deal?
And they're not getting a fair deal.
How do you deal with an RC trade union official? I'll tell you what you do.
Oh,
you make
come
him.
on.
No. I haven't finished yet. How do you deal with one? You make him a member of the management.
Well, that's a classic way, and that's actually not an official. That's actually more often than not, because an official works full time for a trade union. What the classic case I think you're talking about is like a shop steward. It was a militant shop steward at work, so they buy him off. I mean, that's a classic case, man. But that's not what I'm talking about. Yes, some people are able to be bought.
Yeah, but you're talking about the finer points of the political system.
No, the finer points. There is no democracy in this country.
Yeah, that's right. You're not talking about the ability to get elected. What you're saying is right. Sid the socialist, if he wanted to, could stand in an election and he could get voted and he could become. Hang on. He could become an MP. But when he gets there, there's nothing he can do.
What I'm saying is, real democracy has got nothing to do with getting elected to Parliament.
That's what I just said.
I'm sorry?
That's exactly what I just said.
So what's your alternative then?
I'm agreeing with you. Bill, as hard as this may sound.
Let me ask you this.
As hard as this may sound, Bill.
Let me ask you this.
As hard as this may sound, Bill, I'm agreeing with you.
Right, well, let me ask you what your alternative is, Ian, please.
Well, I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, but I'm asking you what your alternative is.
Why would I have an alternative? I'm agreeing with you.
Well, if you accept... Well, that's fine. Agree with me.
Well, I just
if you accept
yes.
that parliamentary democracy is a sham and that democracy is a sham, let me ask you what your alternative is.
No, I agree with you, Bill. I agree with you, Bill.
Well, why don't you say what your alternative is?
Because I haven't got an alternative.
Writer.
I haven't got an alternative.
You haven't?
No.
So we have to settle for this, do we?
Yes, we do. Because believe it or not, it actually works.
Does it?
Yes.
It works for who? For
the illusion. No, not at all.
For the illusion. Peers?
All
the top businessmen. Who
all
does
people
this
need.
Work for?
All people need is the illusion of democracy.
Oh, well, that's a very cynical That's very cynical of you, don't you think?
No, I think most people cannot be bothered to go into the finer points of what makes a nation tick at the levels you're referring to here, okay? Because you could stand as an MP, okay? Say you get elected.
Stand for election.
No, it doesn't matter if you do, Bill. It's hypothetical, right? So say you do, and you become your MP, and you do your old Martin Bell thing. You're an independent socialist candidate, say, and there you are in Parliament, and you can stand up once a week, and you can be on the telly. You can appear on Question Time. You can do the news thing. You can do the 5:40 with John Suchet. You can do the 6 o'clock with the new geezer, whatever he's called. Brilliant. But at the end of the day, what are you really doing? Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. Absolutely.
But you know what? Folk don't give a toss, Bill, because they can see you talking, you look like a nice bloke, and you represent them. And that's why every politician we've had, pretty much since the world...
I think you're insulting people's intelligence,
No, I'm not.
To be honest.
No, I'm not, because every politician we've had, nearly every politician, there's always going to be a few exceptions, as being a lying, scheming, dirty, in it for themselves, good for nothing, duplicitous cheat.
And this is democracy, is it?
No, I'm not saying it is.
So what's your alternative?
Oh, God, we've just been through that. Tell me what you think.
Is that what you're telling me?
What do you think it is?
The alternative to what we've got now?
Yeah.
I think there are a number of examples throughout history,
Now, what's the alternative now?
The alternative now?
Yeah, what would you do?
Is to reject parliamentary politics.
In favour of what? In favour of what?
Actually, to go along what the vast majority, I believe, or a sizable majority, let's say, of what people want, and that's
Which
decent,
is?
and that's. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, how do you do that? See, I've searched.
I didn't even get a chance to answer the
I'm
question.
asking
I
you.
nearly swore again.
How do you? Because I've searched for years for this alternative bill and I can't find it.
Well, the alternative is people actually doing it for themselves, collectively. That's the only way.
Collectivism.
We cannot. The only people we have got to rely on is each other as workers in the workplace.
Okay. And then what happens?
And sod your trade union leaders and
Right.
sod your Labour Party and sod your Tories, definitely.
They're all very Saturday night, Sunday morning. But how you know? What do we do when we get into that position? Who makes the decisions, Bill?
Well, we do, mate. We make the.
Who's we? The people.
The people who have got
How do they make them?
into a situation where
how do they make the decisions?
Take control of society away from these greedy bastards, which is what the GMB.
How do they make the decisions? How do they do it?
How do we make those decisions?
So how do we, as the newfound People's Party, how do we make the decisions?
I think, for instance, that if you take trade union politics to its logical conclusion, or let's say there is no logical conclusion to trade union politics, because all trade unions are about is negotiating the level to which workers are exploited. They have a foot in both camps. They want to look after the bosses. They want to protect their own position, but at the same time, they have to be seen to its paid up members to be doing something. Okay, so how do we make
how do we take the decision? How do we make the decisions? Who decides what you're going to spend on the National Health Service?
Right. If we, I could put it this way: how many doctors and nurses are want to shut down a hospital? If the doctors and nurses in the hospital say Bill,
shut them
down, but it's not likely, is it?
Bill, we know all of that. What I'm saying to you is, okay, how do you decide? Well, you haven't. We've given you 3 chances here. How do you decide who is going to make the decision?
Yes, I am Britain. Are you
on how you spend money?
On how?
Who's going to decide that?
Well, it's funny how, I'll answer the question.
Yeah, well, I think you should.
Damn it, I'll answer the question.
Cut to the chase,
But
Bill.
the fact of the matter is, the people who do the work, the people who earn the profits for these greedy bastards,
stop swearing.
Start about taking the
Because you
decisions.
see, what you've done, in the great envious way of a certain sector of our society.
Oh, come on, I'm not envious. I'm absolutely furious about what's going on. Look at the way.
It's all this. Because a few people are doing well, there's something wrong with them. They're all greedy. Why does that make them greedy, Bill? Because they work their darn butts off. Why does that make them greedy?
Really? Well, most wealth in this country, for instance, and you're doing a very fine job, trying to get me worked up. But I'm not
trying to get you worked up,
Most
Bill.
wealth in this society is inherited. The land in this country is owned by a small group of people.
Right, there's two.
who we elect to Parliament to act for us.
Forget what I understand what you're saying about millionaires. I understand what you're saying about fat cats, right? I'm talking about the average bloke who's and when I say the average, I'm talking about the average rich bloke or well-off bloke,
the average
right?
rich bloke. Is there such a thing? Is there?
Well, yeah, I'm talking about somebody what you might call middle England. I'm talking about the kind of person who's earning, say, £40,000 or £50,000 a year.
All right.
Good money. What do you do with him? Is he a greedy swine?
Well, how has he earned that money?
Because he's
how has
paid
he earned that money?
He's paid that money.
He's made that money, has he?
He's paid that money, and he's made that money.
He's paid it?
He's paid it, or he's made it, whichever way.
Well,
he might make it himself.
That 50 grand didn't come out of nowhere. Well, I mean, what are you saying? He's running a medium-sized business or something?
He could well be, yeah.
Right. Well, who's made that money for him?
He might have made it himself.
By doing what exactly?
He could have been doing all sorts. I know a bloke that
Who's actually doing the work?
I know a bloke.
I'm sorry.
All right, yeah, Bill. I know a bloke that earns about £50,000 or £60,000 a year by making products in his garden shed on his Todd, right? So what are you going to do with him?
So, all right. So he's
no staff.
This is, if you're trying to justify capitalism to me.
No, I'm trying. I'm trying to ask you. No. So, Bill, I'm not asking you to justify anything. I'm asking you to explain to me what is wrong with certain scenarios, and that's one of them.
Well, there's only one scenario, Ian, and the fact of the matter is, we live in a capitalist society, which means there's inequality, which means there's exploitation, which means there is homeless, which means there is unemployment. This is the reality of the system we live under.
Nearly all the people you refer to want to be capitalists, Bill. They all buy their lottery ticket to go out and win Wonga.
Not because they want to be capitalists, Ian, because that's because
they want a big house and a big car.
Themselves
oh, don't be so dumb.
Come on,
soft.
they want to buy themselves
they want to buy a big house and a flashy car. They don't want to work. They're the first people. They're the first
because they know
people.
what work means.
They're the
Work means
first
bloody-
people that would employ a cleaner and pay them £4 an hour. They're the first people that have some bozo cleaning their car once a day.
Yeah.
So listen,
Well,
you never
if
did
you're-
tell
if
me,
you're-
Bill.
If you're justifying the Rupert Murdoch...
No one's
and
just...
the
No,
Clive
Bill,
Thompsons
Bill,
and the Bob
Bill.
Ailings and the Eddie
Bill,
Georges of this world, well, go ahead, mate.
Bill, I haven't justified a single thing since I've had this conversation with you. I'm just asking the questions. So listen, where do you get the person... who decides who spends the money on the hospitals? We never did answer that one.
Well...
Who are the workers?
Who are the workers?
No, who out of the workers decides who's going to spend what on what in your new government idea?
Well, I think that's not a question to get elected. I think that's a case of we get to a situation, and you may well ask, and you may well do, how we get to the situation
You
where
might as well
the
be a
people...
politician on
question,
question
can I answer the damn
You
question?
haven't answered it yet.
I'm bloody well getting there, if I can.
Well,
if
you
I'm
better
allowed
hurry
to.
up.
What, you know what I mean?
Time's running
I'm
out.
not allowed to actually...
We've got a democracy to run here.
You're having a laugh, mate.
Go on, Bill.
Listen, if we get to the situation where the people in this country who deserve, you know, deserve to take charge not only their health service but their own workplaces, if we get to that situation...
So you want a meritocracy?
What does that mean? That's a big word. What does that mean, mush?
Mush? Don't you split hairs with me, Bill? I think you're
Well,
a
you've
nice
been to see
bloke.
that Ricky Grover. You want to know?
No, what I'm saying is you think that if it's on merit, then people deserve the job.
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm talking about is a radical transformation of society where the people who actually make the wealth, which are the workers right now. You know, I'm giving you a communist philosophy. You know that.
Of course I
do.
do.
You know that. Right? You know that.
Yes.
So to get into the situation that I'm talking about, then a revolution has to occur. There has to be a complete overthrow. You know, Parliament will be abolished. The people who make the wealth in society actually make the choices of what is produced and where the wealth goes and the distribution of not only wealth, but what is produced. Right? You may say that that is a utopia, that is an ideal, and you may point to me and say, well,
Bill.
this is the failure of the
Bill,
Soviet Union and
no,
the so-called Eastern
not
Europe,
at all.
and I'll
No.
answer that if you like.
All I'm trying to get to here is who ultimately, once you've had this overthrow of wealth, once you've had this people power resurgence, right? Once you've had this, that somebody somewhere essentially has got to make decisions.
Right. So
You've
you're
got to have
talking
somebody
about-
commenting on health.
So
You've
what
got to
I'm-
have somebody commenting
I'm
on
with you,
education
I'm
and
with
all
you.
those policies.
I'm
So
with
what you essentially wind up doing is re-electing another group of bods to carry out exactly the same system that you've just got rid
Well,
of.
what I'm talking about is actually it's spreading democracy, a far wider, more accountable kind of democracy. If we look throughout history and see how workers that have come to the situation where they've collectively taken control of their societies, we can see a different kind of democratic structures springing up.
Well,
Right?
like Poland.
So let's say, for instance, I work in a factory, okay? I mean, you have already existing. If there's a union agreement, you already have an existing structure.
Yeah.
There. Okay, so you elect someone to carry out, you know, the wishes of that workforce, whatever that workforce be. All right, or whatever them wishes be, rather to say whatever they decide to be. Any representatives, so that's at local level. So then you have that at regional level. You have people that are elected to regional level. Okay, but and then you can go on to a national level. But what I'm saying is these are people that are instantly recallable. This is what history demonstrates. These are people that are instantly recallable, not after 5 years, not after 4 years, not after 3 years. And these are people that are paid the average worker's wage. This is the example of history. If you look at, say, for instance, Spain in 1936, people fighting the fascists in Spain in 1936, they ran their own communities.
Yeah,
everything
but they're not doing it.
collecting
But Bill,
rubbish,
well, it
the
didn't work
food
that well.
distribution, the
They're
whole
not doing it
shooting
now, are
match.
they? They're not doing it now.
Well,
They ain't doing it now because it didn't work.
Capitalism has got the grip of us.
Because
It's
it didn't work.
an
Because
system.
eventually you wind up in the old all-well animal farm scenario where somebody wants to take over and become the chief.
Well, that depends how strong the structures are. But crucially, the whole point is that if you're elected to carry out a mandate on behalf of the people and you don't do it, you're instantly recallable.
All right,
Also,
Bill.
you're paid no more than the average worker's wage.
Bill, we've got to go.
All right.
Fabulous talking to you.
Nice one.
See you later.
Next time.
Bye-bye. There he is, Bill in Bradford, with his Communist Manifesto. Hasn't somebody already written that?
Access all areas on Talk Radio with Nicky Horn. The
biggest names in music were on Talk Radio in 1998. And if you've missed some of our exclusive interviews this year on Access All Areas, then this Christmas Day, it's your chance to hear the pick of our star interviews. From 5 o'clock, we'll be revisiting conversations with a host of music's biggest names, including Sheryl Crow, Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys.
I decided to write some music to take myself out of the bad feelings into some good feelings.
Mick Fleetwood, Lou Reed.
We were bad enough to have to change our names. That wasn't a lie.
Johnny Rotten and Michael Bolton.
I do believe that everything we have done and everything that is part of the life journey prepares us for what is next.
And that's just for starters. The pick of the best music talk on the radio. An Access All Areas special on Christmas Day from 5. Only on Talk Radio.
Alan Parry, Gary Newbon, Talk Radio. The only station that gives you a drive time sports show Monday to Friday, 5 till 8 on 1053 and 1089 AM.
Your daily station. Swing your pistol. It's Ian Collins and the Creatures of the Night.
BBC's a little periwinkle channel now. There's hundreds of other channels.
A little periwinkle channel? Fantastic. Right, so, thank you to Matthew. Matthew's facts. That's good facts, wasn't it? That's good facts. Thank you, Matthew. What's this one from Andy?
Yes.
Who says, what's this? You old mister of fun. How did...
Meister, I think that's meant to be.
Meister. Is that meant to say Meister?
Yeah.
Blimey, spelling's worse than ours.
Well, it's nearly as good as mine.
How did your first birthday celebrations go? Fine, as we were just explaining, apart from we didn't get to see Ricky Grover. I see you've got your conspiratorial socks on. Well, I agree with you to an extent. Democracy is the facade which hides the face of hell. As Neil Hannon once said, which brings me onto my main point. Someone's quoting Neil Hannon.
I think he's a fan.
He must be. I was talking to somebody in the Creatures chat room yesterday about music. The Divine Comedy came up. Sorry, I thought you were talking about music. And this person said that you and Miff were slagging them or him off a few weeks ago. Is this true?
Yes.
Yes. I always respected yours and the rest of the Creatures' opinions with regards to music, but this is, if true, an oversight of mammoth proportions. I shall write to my MP, your boss, and the Queen.
Ooh.
Bit of an oversight. Well, I think it was... How did it come up? How did the Divine Comedy thing come up?
I don't think about crap music.
Yeah, well, naturally, yes. It was just, I'm sorry. You know, you bring up a conversation about crap music and to not be able to crowbar the words divine comedy into the conversation is almost an impossibility. It's a little bit like talking about your 6-year-old party without discussing the word jelly and ice cream, you know?
Indeed.
You just can't do these things. They're going to come up. Speaking of which, things that should come up, of course.
Oh, yes.
Chelsea, a bit of result the weekend.
They did.
With the Spurs, of course, and rightly so, because we know what a darn awful hate is. It's amazing how kind of Spurs have taken over the Arsenal.
In a way, yeah.
You know how Arsenal are always the most hated club in the Football League? Everybody, universally loathes Arsenal. It's kind of changed to Spurs now.
Yeah, it's gone that way a little bit, but there's still the hatred to Arsenal, I'm afraid.
Yeah, and the Hammers, of course.
Oh, everybody likes the Hammers.
Yeah, that's right, particularly at their fancy dress party. That's right. Having a party, invite this pair.
Oh, well.
Going off there.
These things happen.
Yeah, Harry was well happy about that,
I
wasn't
bet
he?
he was high spirited.
He was over the moon. Unfortunately, Pete's team, the Charlton, couldn't do the bizzo against Villa last night.
The Addicts had a defeat, yeah. We didn't do bad.
I must say, it was a respectable score for Charlton and an abysmal one for Aston Villa. 1-0. But, of course, doing Chelsea no favours at all, because Chelsea's 48 hours of glory knocked
into a cocktail
catastrophically off the top. Bar points, though. I predicted weeks ago that Chelsea will win the league this year.
You did.
And they will.
Yeah, they're our favourites.
That's right, yeah.
Favourites there.
And Charlton, well, you ain't going down, but you ain't going further up, mate. No, you really.
I think you'll survive.
Yeah, the Charlton team were on the Generation Game on Saturday, did you know that?
I beg your pardon.
They were on the Generation Game.
Did they do well?
That's right.
What were they doing?
They were a collective contestant. No, they were. I think some guy had a dream to. Is Jim Davison a Charlton fan? Or
I think he probably is, yeah, because he's from
South London, so it's quite probably is. And he had some guy had this. You know, he always wanted to be on. So they got this guy on a fictitious football pitch. And they got a football commentator on, and they pretended he was commentating on the weather, on the conditions on the pitch. And every time they mentioned an act of weather, all the Charlton team threw buckets of custard and water at this guy. And most hilarious.
Well, that's what I think.
Absolutely staggering. Andy says big things are happening on the website.
Are they?
I'm redesigning it all because my pewter broke, and the other one was deleted from my PC, but it's still on the web. Do you have any suggestions or things you'd like to see?
Is that internet, Andy?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, well, we'd like to see kind of more spinning things.
And
bit of a spinning experience.
Sounding things.
Sounding things.
Maybe a bit of sound on there, I think.
Yeah, some sound stuff and some spinning stuff will be really good. And you can probably write our obituary after Christmas as well.
Possibly.
Because when Gordon Ashley's nicked our job.
He won't nick our job.
No, I know. Gordon's a top man by all accounts.
Is he?
Yeah, well, I told you last week.
Yeah.
I was talking to Mr. Ashley. He's a lovely bloke. So.
He's a good judge of character, Mr. Ashley.
Well, he is. Very good. Right, let's go. Don't go away, Charlie. Don't go away, Adrian. We've got Roger coming on as well. Stuart's on the M62. You're very loud there, Stuart. Are you there, sir?
Yeah, I'm here, Ian.
Hello.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, what do you got for us?
Right, about 35 minutes ago, you had a young lad on the M4 talking about the Dog-Eat-Dog Society.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, as I see it, that's going to form the breakdown of modern society if you if you decriminalise theft.
Yeah.
Because if you decriminalise theft, you're going to have to decriminalise manslaughter. Because take me for example, personally, I work 70 to 80 hours a week to earn my living, so I can provide, for my future family when I have one. And if some little wants to come into my house and burgle me, I'm going to shoot him. Did you get that, Ian?
You're going to shoot him?
If I've got a shotgun, I'll shoot him. Because why should I be out there working my...
It's a bit drastic for a couple of old VHSs, isn't it?
Right. It's my property, mate. I'm working out there.
Well, can't you just lump him with a bit of wood?
No. Why? Because if you've decriminalised theft, right?
Yeah.
Then you've also got to decriminalise a whole lot of other stuff, which will also include things like manslaughter, murder, everything like that. So you've got a completely lawless society.
Yeah. And
a human being as such, requires law. If you think back to the other week when you was going on about that BBC documentary, let's get 30-odd people on a desert island.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah? The human being requires law.
People need law.
Exactly. And it will just turn into an Americanised state where everyone's got a rather large shooter shoved down their trousers somewhere, and they're going to go out bombing people. And can you ask Mitch something for us?
He's here.
Oh, here.
Yeah, Mitch?
Yes, sir. He's still reading over your large shooter comment, but there we are.
Yeah, well, we won't talk about that kind of chances. Yeah. Hey, ask Mitch if he wants his fags back.
If I want me... Oh, you thieving git. How can I have my lighter as well, please?
No, I'm using that, mate.
A sentimental value.
Thank you, Stuart.
All right, mate.
See ya. That's it, that one. Right. I'll get used to these faders. That's Stuart on the M62. We'll talk to Roger in a second. He's always got something interesting to say. Well, sort of. There's all of that. Sylvester is in London. Thank you, Sylvester, for that fact. Facts. What else are we on a sling in here? So I've got the Christmas schedule here.
Right, yep.
This is worth a mention because there's loads going on. And a lot of all sorts of sort of kind of special one-off shows. Russell Grant, this boy is working crazy hours over Christmas because he's doing Christmas Day and he's doing New Year's Day.
Oh, you'd have thought he'd seen that coming, really, wouldn't you?
You would. Which is staggering, really, because I always thought that... I always thought that Russell...
Yes.
No, I always thought Russell liked a beer.
I thought he did. I've always had that opinion.
I did.
Yes, loves one. Loves it.
I thought there's no one likes a beer. More than Russell Grant.
No.
But obviously he's going to be stopped from doing so.
His tincture will be withdrawn, won't it?
He's beerless.
He's doing well,
because he's working Christmas Day, and New Year's Day.
New Year's Day, he won't be able to drink it New Year's Eve, surely.
No.
His beer will be withdrawn from that thing as well. Poor old Russell.
Oh, I'll have to stay on the sale. I'll have to stay with ginger beers or something. Right, what do we got here? Who else is on? We got Barry Manilow is standing in for Lorraine Kelly. Well, no, he's not actually. It's an audience. It's an audience with Barry Manilow. There's an audience with Tony Bennett as well. And I'm sure I saw this one somewhere. Another audience with, and I won't quote it.
There is one more.
There is another one, isn't there? Where is it?
I think it's around the Christmas period.
Is it?
Well, it should be. It's on the Christmas list.
It's a Christmas schedule, yeah, so we would hope it is. Not that one. Not that one. Christmas Day. An audience with Tony Bennett, yeah. Access all areas. Access all... Jane Irving's doing some stuff on the station as well. Lovely Jane. Oh, there, yeah, an audience with Nicholas Parsons.
Well, there you are.
We had him on... I'll tell you what. We had him on the show once, remember?
I remember it very well.
We couldn't stop the boy talking.
God, could he bunny the game?
Couldn't stop the bloke speaking.
God, he's got some rabbit on him, I'll tell you.
Not many, blimey. All right, 0500 10 53 89. Can we whack that into the news?
Yeah.
Since we're... okay. Right, let's just go to... Roger. Hang on, because he's over here. Where is he? There he is. Roger.
Good morning.
Good morning.
100% to Bill.
To Bill?
Yeah, 100% sort of, for what he said.
But he didn't say anything, Roger. You couldn't answer a single question.
But it was perfectly articulated.
No, it wasn't perfectly articulated. He didn't answer it. You know he didn't.
He did, and
No, he didn't.
I'll agree.
He blatantly didn't answer it, Roger.
I agree with your latter part of the argument about elections can be rigged.
Yes, how do you think they rigged them?
Well, I think it's what you said, and I always believe it, that sort of newspaper media create an atmosphere. They create an atmosphere by publishing figures about unemployment, hospitals, etc. If you notice, after the election when Labour won, everything's disappeared. No more pictures of old ladies being mugged. Hospitals are working perfectly.
Yeah.
No sort of, nothing going wrong. So, I mean, it's just created. It's a sort of a facade. And
why would they want to create that, Roger? I mean, why would people want to make it not work?
Well, because sort of it got to the point where sort of Tories were completely unacceptable, and until you got a government that sort of was more or less Tory, media and newspapers, speculators, bankers, didn't want to accept socialism. So therefore, when Labour come along and changed into a sort of Tory capitalist type government, then straight away they gave it every type of leg up to get it sort of to win the election, and that's the way it was done. And
do you feel like a totally different person under this government than the last one?
No, I feel sort of that everything's been blanked out. You're getting nothing out of the newspapers. I mean, you haven't got... I mean, just a second ago, you got a report about your employment sort of getting better. That's just a kind of manipulation.
How do you know that? You haven't done the figures?
Because there's more and more people sort of out of work. Hospitals are working just as badly. There's just as bad crime.
Answer me something, Rob. Would you like to live under a communist system?
Definitely. 100%, yeah.
Where somebody else is in charge, they just call themselves a communist.
Somebody else is in charge now.
But they just call themselves a communist.
Well, we've got jingoism, nationalism in charge now, and sort of the same sort of criteria.
Yeah. I think when you look at any kind of extremes, you wind up in a similar situation. We've got to stop there, Roger. We're coming up to the news. It's 0500 10 53 89 for any comments on all of this. Some lovely little subjects cropped up tonight, which is always good news. 0500 10 53 89. We'll talk to Adrian in Liverpool, find out what he's going to talk about in just a tick, and also Charlie in London. Don't go if you're hanging on, and the lines are still open.
Touch the ancient.
TalkRadio, can I help you?
Hi, can I talk to Ian, please?
It's the real thing. It's a radio signal from another world.
This is the flavor.
Hey, you're an old monkey hanger.
I am.
Drug-crazed old bozo, slept with just about anything with a pulse.
I resent it bitterly. You're either a monkey hanger or a codhead.
In actual fact, then, your carrot is a mutant vegetable.
That's not a French spy. That's a monkey.
Ian Collins and the creatures of the night.
Hello? Hey, what's up there, fruitcake?
Brace yourself.
doing our thing, doing our nighttime thing. Phones are busy, keep on trying if you're trying to get on. Loads happening at this end, so keep the calls coming in on that number. Right, let's go to, where are we going? To Charlie, who's over here in London. Charlie, how you doing?
Good morning, how are you doing?
Fine.
Right, what it is, I just want to talk about the decriminalisation thing you were talking about earlier.
Yes.
I seem to think that if they do decide to do this, go ahead with this, either the unemployment figures are either going to stay.
Can I just say, it's not a proposal, by the way, it's only something we're discussing.
Right, well, if it was to go through, I mean, I can't really see it happening in sort of reality anyway, but if it was to go through, you'd probably either be looking at the unemployment figures staying where they are, rising incredibly.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you can just go around seeing things willy-nilly, I mean, people aren't going to want to work, are they? I mean, one of the purposes for working in this country, in any country, is to earn money to buy things to survive.
Yeah.
Now, if you can just steal things, then people aren't going to want to work.
No, they're not.
Money to buy things, so they're just going to steal them.
Would you steal, Charlie?
To a degree, yes. I wouldn't steal to put anybody sort of out, so to speak. I mean, I wouldn't steal to sort of...
So it'd be corporate theft?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I wouldn't steal to sort of... I wouldn't steal somebody's food, so to speak, or... I mean, if somebody was in a wheelchair, I wouldn't steal their wheelchair. But I mean, small things, yes, I would. If it came down to a decriminalisation, then yes. I mean, obviously at the moment, it is illegal, and I wouldn't want to do it because obviously you get prosecuted for it.
Okay, all right. So thank you very much indeed for that, Charlie. Nice to talk to you. Let's just go to Adrian, who's been hanging on for an age. Adrian, how you doing?
All right, Ian.
Good.
Yeah, I was originally coming on to speak to that lad before. He was about an hour ago or whatever now.
Yeah.
He was saying that he would rob from somebody's house. You know, the mountain bike scenario.
That's right, yeah.
That's what I came on to talk about, but, I mean, if anybody wants to come on now who will rob from somebody's house and challenge me over it, I would love that to happen.
I bet nobody would.
If that's at all possible. I would love somebody to come on and...
But that's the trouble with your thief, you see. They think that it's like, you know, they think you're insured. So they think, if they can afford a mountain bike, I think this is part of the...
If we could afford a mountain bike to be in our back garden and then stolen, we could afford not to work, so to speak, because we're working to get that money.
That kind of belief that you must, you know, if you've got your own place, you're well off. And if you can afford a mountain bike, you're well off in the first place. So you shouldn't have it, I should have it. And it's just greed.
Apart from that, I phoned up the BBC.
Did you?
I did, yeah.
What do you want to go and do a silly thing like that for?
No, it was about 30 people on an island.
Oh, yeah?
Jobby. I phoned up, got put through to the promotions thing, and I said, blah, 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 you know, I'll put my name down for it. He said, we're not taking names until January. So I said, well, put my name down now for January. And he said, why? And I went, because I'm confident that you'll want me. He said, why? I went, because if you're picking 30 people from around Britain, you're going to need a scouser, aren't you? I said, there's no way you can have a programme about 30 people and not a scouser in there. I said, you need me. So I don't know whether he's put my name down or not, but if any of you guys can get me on that show, I'll report back to you.
You must ring him back, though.
I'm telling you.
You've got to ring him back just to make sure. Did he give you a date to ring back, or did he just say January?
I think it was January the 1st. He said to ring back. He said they're not taking applicants till then. But I mean, you should do your own thing in Talk Radio. You should set it up in a different place, like whatever a transmission, where so many people can stay there and report back to you on what's happening.
That'd be fantastic.
It would, wouldn't it? Especially
where could we send people?
Bahamas.
Yeah, you would say that, wouldn't you?
Anywhere, I don't know, where you can... I don't know, nowhere cold, you know what I mean?
Nowhere cold?
Well, nowhere that's you know, below freezing.
But it's got to be somewhere that's, you know, is based on self-survival, hasn't it?
Yeah, you know, a reasonable habitat.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, I'll do that for you. I'd take a year out and mince about some field somewhere. I'd well do
mince about some field? Hello.
I'd well do... Depends what you're mincing about with.
Yeah, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'd well do that.
I'm trying to think where the best place to send people would be.
Well,
what do you think, Miff?
I reckon there's some islands like that in the South Seas, you know, uninhabited islands.
The Maldives or the...
Yeah, but you see, the trouble is you've got to make sure, it's got to be the right kind of place, because if you got eaten by a snake or something...
Ouch.
then, you know, we'd be stuffed, because
No, that's hard luck, mate. You turn around and you want to live on a desert island.
What about? I'm
Yeah,
looking at the Falkland Islands.
Who wants to go to the Falkland Islands?
Exactly.
It's a bit tight as round there, I know, isn't it?
It just, I mean, blimey, it's...
Madagascar. I'm looking at Caroline Islands from Oceania, it's sort of next to Indonesia, just above Papua New Guinea. There's some islands.
I've flown over there, actually. You're right, there's tons of islands. I flew over.
millions of
Do you know,
islands
I come back from Australia, I flew over a real volcano.
Was it active?
Not active at the time, but I mean, it had the potential to be. You know, it wasn't like an empty hole. And I say I flew over it. I mean, I made it sound like I was 3 feet away. I mean, it was from a distance. But the point is, in true kind of Walt Disney style, it looked like a flipping volcano.
I tell you what's scary to fly over. The bloody Pyrenees from Barcelona. You know, when you fly over them,
Yeah.
it looks like you're going to hit them.
Does it?
Yeah, you're literally about 100 feet.
See, that wouldn't do for me at all. I can't be handling all that kind of, you know, the aeroplanes are bad enough as it is without additional hazards.
Yeah. It's not the day to be talking about aeroplanes, really, is it?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll have a think on that.
I'll leave you there. If any smackheads want to come in, do you want to phone us back? Because I'd love to speak to a smackhead.
No worries.
Okay.
All right, Adrian.
Thank you.
Good on you. Ta-ta. 0500 10 53 89. So whatever it is you want to sling in. We got the idea for a bit of democracy. We'll talk to Nigel about that in just a sec. What else are we dealing with here? The communist thing that came up a little while ago. Theft. If that were legal or decriminalised, well, we'd go with that. School reunions, nothing on that so far. I'm not having that, not much on that. Panto lineups. Mind you, we've kind of been overtaken with the meat of the piece. Haven't we?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a big one tonight.
2 top gigs this weekend, Pete.
2 top gigs, yeah. I went to see a cracking up-and-coming band called Chicks.
Chicks?
Who are the new Kaneki, all-girl band, very punky.
Are they good?
Very sexy.
Were they good? Really good? Because I don't like to see a woman with a guitar, to be quite honest.
No, they were very, very good.
Did they have male musos and they just sang up in front of it?
No, they're...
I couldn't be doing with that.
Don't be comparing them to...
Couldn't be doing with that at all.
Don't be comparing them to blooming Spice Girls.
No?
These are real musos.
Horrendous.
I've been nothing better than with a bird with a bit of an old saxophone.
Oh, no, that's... Oh, no.
No.
I don't like that at all. Women should be on triangles and xylophones.
And Sunday night, let me just tell you, because I've got to get this out, Cable, new up-and-coming band, fantastic, they're going to be big.
They're going to be big.
You've seen them before, haven't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Big as Idlewild?
well into them.
That well-known boy band?
Oh, can't wait. January the 21st is the next time I'll see Idlewild.
Good Lord. For the how many times?
That'll be the 8th or 9th.
Really?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Classic.
No, I stayed in Saturday night, and I watched a film, a really weird film. Somebody can call me up and confirm this or not, because it was like a massive cast. It had Jeremy Irons in it. It had Glenn Close, Winona Ryder. It had, who else? Antonio Bandages, Banderas.
Yeah.
He was in it. Who else was there? Someone played the... Helen Mirren. Not Helen Mirren.
Mirren?
Not Helen Mirren, what am I talking about? Who's the really well-known American actress?
Which one?
Which one? Well, if I knew that, I wouldn't be asking you, would I?
What does her name begin with?
Her name is... Oh, she's really, really well-known. She's that kind of, sort of... I don't know, like a serious-y actor.
Gwyneth.
Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep, that's it.
There you go, see,
well done.
Bang on
Yeah.
Bang on the head.
That's it. Well, she wasn't in it. No, she was in it. And it was like... But it must have been a flop, this film, because just the way they slung it on. And I thought it was really good. And it was about this... funny enough, it's like not dissimilar to what we're talking about tonight, because the guy, Jeremy Irons, goes from sort of pauper to rich man, and it winds up with this big business, and he starts a family and stuff. And his daughter falls in love with one of his workers, and his workers is a revolutionary who wants to kind of start to get rights for the workers and all that. And, you know, they catch him having meetings, and he whips him and beats him, and then he discovers he's having it away with his daughter, and he tries to kill him, tries to shoot him, all sorts of things. And it winds up that he ends up becoming a pal of his and stuff, but not really in a corny way. So anyway, somebody told me it was a true story.
Ah.
I think it was called The Spirit of something, because one of the women was psychic.
Was she?
It's a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I watched a couple of films on Saturday.
We watched Boogie Nights, which you didn't like very much, did you?
I didn't like it very much, no.
I thought it was all right, Boogie Nights.
I thought it was all right, but I mean, it was... I don't believe the hype, you know.
I thought that Burt Reynolds.
Yes.
Was absolutely fantastic in that.
I
I'd
think
say it's
the
one of the
film-
best
yeah,
films
I'd
he's
say
ever done.
It's the best part I've ever seen him play.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
thought he was superb in it.
But I mean, apart from that, I didn't think the film was as good as what I was led to.
And it's the best looking you're ever going to see What's-Her-Face as well.
Who's that?
What's her name? The main character.
In Boogie Nights?
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a famous actress in it.
His wife is,
I haven't seen it.
Oh, what do they call her? I'll think about it.
No, I think that was a bunch of unknowns.
Come back after this. I'm Scott.
Would you let your kids listen to it? Ian Collins and the Creatures of the Night.
I think it's disgusting. I think for a fellow to talk rubbish the way he does.
Yes.
I mean, I'm amazed. I mean, no wonder our country is going down to the dogs.
Absolutely. That was Courtney Love, wasn't it?
I didn't realise that.
And Marky, you didn't know it was Marky Mark?
No, I didn't even bother looking at the trailer.
We're talking about the same film here, aren't we? The usually gets his charger around at the end.
That thing, yeah.
Yeah, I bet it's not his either.
No, it ain't.
I can't believe that you don't think Courtney Love's a bit of,
Really?
All right.
No, Peter, I've got to educate you about birds, mate. Gosh, she's as rough as old.
Really?
Yeah, right move.
She's a bit different looking, isn't she? But
She was all right in Boogie Nights.
I didn't think she was that nice. Like you say, it's that...
And who's the other one?
Which one? The one with the curly hair, his mate?
Yeah.
I don't know who that was. Never seen him before in my life.
Can't remember. Can't remember.
Anyway, Boogie Nights, it was all right, but nothing special. And I'll tell you what's a load of old cack.
What's that?
And I wouldn't recommend anybody to go and see this film.
Yes.
Or hire it on video. In or Out.
Sounds
Or
good.
In and Out, or whatever it's called. With Kevin Kline and Tom Selleck.
Yeah, Kevin Kline. I'd be inclined not to see it.
I think you're right. What a lot of old rag that
Load
is.
of old rag.
Yeah.
Load of old rag. I don't know. I was trying to think. It was, yeah, Marky Mark. Who else was in it? What's that? No, how many females are in Boogie Nights? Was that Courtney Love?
Well, there was the roller girl.
Yeah, her. That's not... Yeah, then there's the other one, isn't there?
Yeah. The one with the red hair.
And they get smacked up all the time, and they're...
Yeah.
Is that... Oh, blimey. Does he don't go to prison in it, does he?
No.
No, that's not the one Courtney Love's in. What's Courtney Love in? Which film did she make?
I don't know.
Which film did she make? It was ages ago I saw Boogie.
I didn't think it was Courtney Love, to be honest. But like, you say it's Courtney Love, it's Courtney Love. Amazing what they do with a big old slat.
No, I don't know if it was a... Or was... Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Someone will tell us.
Someone will call up and tell us. Give us a shout and tell us. Right, let's go to Nigel, who's over here in South London. Nigel, hi.
Oh, hello, Ian. I'm not in South London.
Oh, you're not... Why does it say South London here?
I didn't
sure.
Well, you who wrote that?
Peter wrote that.
Why did you write South London?
I don't know, because Nigel's perfectly eloquent. Where are you?
Well, we know where Nigel is.
Cheltenham.
Yeah, South London. Or maybe he thinks Cheltenham's in South London.
I was just trying to see if Cheltenham sounded like South London, Cheltenham, South London. Yeah, he's probably got bad ears, Nigel. So.
Well, anyway, I'm on, yes, of course.
Sorry, yes.
Right. I'd like to go back to your live exchange with Bill, I think it was, whom I respect for at least having being a socialist who actually believed in socialism.
Yeah, agree.
I suppose he would be a Trotskyite. But it seemed to me that the logic of what he was saying was that MPs should not be representatives; they should simply be delegates. And
yeah, that's what he was saying.
Yeah, and we should abandon the fiction, and I think it is a fiction, that anyone can represent anyone else. Because they can't really. I mean, you couldn't represent me, and I couldn't represent you. And if we did want a democracy, I don't think I believe in democracy myself, but if we did, then we should have a system whereby MPs are simply delegates and abandon this nonsense about representation. That's the way to
So we
get rid
take
of
out party politics?
Yes, political parties should be forbidden because they're simply a conspiracy to gain and to keep power, really. There's nothing democratic about them at all. If one believed... this is what one should have if one believed in democracy. Although I think the country flourished more, say, in the 18th century when really we had an autocracy.
Yeah. So are we likely to see... Or is there any way we could practically implement this?
I'm not sure it would be very practical. I mean, to go back to what Bill was saying, if you gave all power to the workers by effectively having workers' councils, then one couldn't be sure that the workers wouldn't, from his point of view, have extremely reactionary ideas. They might decide that all the Jews...
That's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yes.
they might decide that all the Jews should be killed or something like that.
Yeah.
Historically, there's no reason to believe that the workers will be progressive.
Sure.
Objectively, there's no reason why they should be. They might have their own views. So, speaking as someone who doesn't believe in democracy, I'd say that if we genuinely needed one, then I couldn't be my MP is Michael Heseltine. As a matter of fact, I don't think he can represent me. I don't think any MP meaningfully represents anyone else. I think the idea is just a fiction, and that really we'd have to make them delegates, and they'd simply do whatever their constituents instructed them to do. So that the average constituency, as you know, consists of about 100,000 people. If, say, 51,000 instructed an MP to vote no, he'd vote no, or she would vote no. And if 51,000 instructed him to vote yes, it would be yes, or however many voted. Then it would be genuinely a democracy. But that would never happen, of course, because...
It would also be damn hard to implement, wouldn't it? Practically. Because you'd be going to some kind of referendum every time an issue crops up.
Yes, it would be...
Which could be daily.
Every time that... It would discourage them from legislating, really, which they ought to be, because they legislate far too much. It would be a constant referendum, in effect, but it would be genuine democracy.
So when you say you're anti-democracy, in which case you are pro what?
Well, I suppose, as I said, an autocracy would probably... I think was probably more realistic, though I don't actually feel the need to commit myself to any ideological system.
But do you think people work under the fundamental base of law and order better than a kind of a laissez-faire approach? Yes, I do. But laissez-faire sort of implies a belief just in not much more than economics. Sure. Yeah. Okay. Colloquially used in terms of no government, without. I mean, we could talk anarchy then.
Yeah, and I think one of the problems with our sort of political and intellectual and moral life at the moment is that everything is seen in terms of economics, as though human beings were nothing more than producers or consumers. And I don't regard myself, or indeed you, as either, or anyone else I know, as either of those things. I think Karl Marx is right on that count. I think
but you're part consumer, surely.
Well, yes, I'm not meaningfully a consumer in the sense that I'm not a manipulated consumer. I don't buy what I could afford to go and buy. I wouldn't need to borrow lots of money like Mandelson. I could afford to go and buy a much better car than I drive, for instance, but I don't do so because I don't need one. I think Karl Marx was right that capitalism does dehumanize people by the word he used, alienation. It alienates them from their real nature by turning them into consumers, and I think we see that more and more. And I don't actually see, I think it's very destructive and dehumanizing, and I don't actually see it going anywhere. I'm a beneficiary of capitalism myself, but I don't actually believe in it, although I don't believe in socialism either.
So an autocracy?
I think that, well, historically the country functioned better under an autocracy in the 18th century, for instance. I mean, as an admirer of Burke and so on, you'll be acquainted with that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see the present system being anything but a sort of decline into a sort of dehumanized state of being, actually.
Okay, Nigel.
All right, goodbye.
Nice talking to you again. Cheers. That's Nigel, who's, of course, it said South London on there. Well, you put South London.
That's where he was, wasn't it?
Cheltenham. Did you think he said Charlton or something?
Oh, no, don't know what happened.
In a bizarre reversal of normal service here, are some answers before the proper trivia questions. The actress in Boogie Nights was Julianne Moore, Bert's wife, and Heather Graham, Roller Girl. Courtney Love was in the other... Oh, yes, The People versus Harry Flint, that was it. I knew there was a cult thing.
I haven't seen that.
I knew there was a cult thing. Courtney in a cult, that's it. But it was a similar kind of character, I guess. The Spanish film you saw on Saturday was the House of Bernarda Alba, based on Lorca's classic Spanish play. Trivia coming up in a mo. I look forward to that. Fantastic. If you're hanging on the phone, do not disappear. It's 0500 10 53 89.
It's miserable. You're living in a place that's run down and overcrowded. Your kids have no space to play in and have to sleep in the cold and damp. You never thought you'd end up like this. But if you call Shelterline free on 0808 800 4444, you can talk to someone who'll help. Give us a call before things get out of hand. Call Shelterline free any time of the day or night on 0808 800 4444. Shelterline is supported by BT.
Wake up with your daily news on the Talk Radio Breakfast. Head home with your daily sport on the only drive-time sports show on radio, The Sports Zone. Every weekday evening from 5 on Talk Radio, 10:53 and 10:89 a.m.
Your daily station. It's another bulging experience from Ian Collins and the Creatures of the Night.
Got an ache? Then make sure, check your jig. Got an ache, check your jack. To legalise thieving, would you therefore legalise death trap intruder alarms? At the moment, you are liable for any damage you cause to thieves who break into either your home or your office. There are exceptions, but you'll appreciate me keeping things brief. So let's level the playing field. Legalise thieving and legalise intruder alarms, and decapitate the intruder. It's a bit over the top, isn't it?
It is, really.
But how many people, you see, I've always said, if you came downstairs and you caught somebody having your gear away, and you had an old plank of wood handy,
yeah,
you'd want to slap them one.
I'll tell you what, you'd pick your cricket bat up and twonk them one, wouldn't you?
That's interesting, really. What would you do if you came down and they were there?
I'll bash them, mate. I'll bash the life out of them.
I think I'd run back upstairs.
Well, I think you've got to make a calculated decision on how big they are compared to you.
No.
Oh, yeah, but if you go downstairs and you think three blokes, all about 6 foot wide, they ain't going to start getting a bit leery with your cricket bat, are you?
Well, I'll tell you what, they're going to get leery with you.
Well, they've already got leery with you by entering your property, haven't they? Fool, what's up with you?
I'll turn around and twonk every last one of them. As they
well, you wouldn't be able to, would you? Because the minute you went out there with your cricket bat, somebody's going to turn around and... Well, they'll remove your cricket bat from you and probably insert it in you.
Well, they might do, but I'd have a good go. I'd have a good go.
Well, I can't blame you for that. What happened to him, then?
Oh, they're merchants.
I've got a cricket facts here.
Have we? Let's have a look. Yes. Dear Ian at Talk Radio, you poor thing. Having to work so late at night. Because of this, I've decided to cheer you up by sending you a picture of myself. I'm sorry this isn't a nude one, but they haven't come back from the developers at the chemist yet. Please tell me what you think. Give me marks out of 100, maybe. As soon as the nude ones are available, I'll send them to you. Bye for now. Lots of love and lots of caresses. Amber.
Isn't she the one? Isn't Amber the one who sent us all those fake promises before?
It was.
No, that wasn't Amber, was it?
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
I recognise the name.
No, I don't think that was Amber, was
Sure
it?
they weren't Amber? I think it was Amber.
No, it wasn't. It was Jane or something.
No.
Wasn't Amber. That's a bloke faxing that.
That's a bloke faxing a bird's picture, isn't it?
It's not a picture of a bloke.
No, it's...
Well, I sincerely hope it's not.
If it isn't, he's in trouble. Both of them. All three of them, in fact.
All three of them, yes. Well, it's gone nuts.
It has.
I mean, you can tell it's gone nuts. I'll go to this line here. Hello, Talk Radio.
Yeah, hi.
Hello.
Is that Ian?
Yes.
Right. Yeah, the film you saw on Saturday night was The House of Spirits by Isabel Allende. Winona Ryder, Meryl Streep.
The
and
House
all
of
that.
Spirits?
Yeah, I just had a look in Time Out, so your bloke with Bernard Alba was wrong.
The House of Bernardo Albert, yeah.
Yeah, it's a load of tosh.
House of Spirits, that's the one. I knew it had spirits in it, you're right.
Yeah, it had the right pony right up in it. So I just thought I'd tell you, so sometimes you can't go along with what the old reviewer said.
Absolutely, because it wasn't a bad old film as it goes.
Well, if I'm ever about again and it's on, I'll give it a go.
Yes.
Thanks very much, Ian.
See you later.
Cheers, mate.
Bye. There we are. What am I, Barry Normal all of a sudden?
Very normal.
Barry Normal. What's up here? Hello, Talk Radio.
Hello?
Hello.
Oh, hi. Ronnie from Cheltenham here.
Is it?
Yes.
I don't believe it. It's somebody pretending it's Ronnie from Cheltenham.
No.
How are you, Ronnie?
I'm not very good at the moment.
Are you not?
No, but I would like to just put a point of view. James Whale picked it up, only the other night.
Yes.
Regarding
that's normal.
TV licenses. Inasmuch as I'm a pensioner and I live in my own home and I have to pay full license.
That's an outrage.
And if I went into a ward and control place or a home, which might come up this next year, I shan't have to pay only about a nominal fee of about
That's disgusting.
£5.
So there's absolutely no the discount system in place for the TV license?
No. And I pay £25 a month to cover my TV license, which I don't consider is to be fair.
£25 a month?
Yes.
Well, what do you pay that amount for?
Sorry?
£25 a month?
Yes.
That's £300 a year.
Sorry?
That's £300 a year.
Well, they take... a quarter.
A quarter.
I beg your pardon.
That's okay, Ronnie. Not a problem. I'm still with you here.
Yes. And I consider that to be most unfair if I had to go into a home.
See, yeah, you'd get it for free.
I would get it...
So that you can't really afford this fee, then?
Well, it seems unfair.
Yeah.
Shall I just put it that way?
What I'm saying is, have you got a bundle of dough shoved in the bank somewhere?
No, unfortunately, I
That's
haven't.
a shame. Okay, well, if you did, we could run away to an island, Ronnie.
All right.
It's lovely to talk to you.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your call.
Bye-bye, and I have a happy Christmas.
And you as well. You enjoy yourself.
To all of you.
And you too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ronnie. Bye-bye. 0500 1053 89. That's going to be putting it on the line, it's going to be a cack Christmas for a lot of people.
It will be.
Right? People, you open up the beers and you have a bit of a giggle and you have a laugh. And actually, for a whole bundle of folk out there, it's the worst time in the world. You don't want to. And actually, even if your religion doesn't dictate that you celebrate Christmas, in fact, you're kind of socially drawn into it by what goes off on the streets.
Well, you can't be away from it. It's on the box.
Not at all.
On the streets, it's in your face.
All over the place. And it kind of just brings it home that you know that there's a whole lot of people, and probably the majority, who are having quite a good time.
Yeah.
And they're really enjoying themselves. And there's a load of other people, for varying reasons, and who are just having the worst time in the world. And either because of what's happened to them, personally, or because they can't afford to join in with the spirit of things. Whole load of reasons. I don't know what the suicide rate does, but a pound to a penny of the proverbial S, the cost of the Samaritans go bananas at this time of year.
Absolutely.
Absolutely bananas.
It rubs your nose in it, doesn't it? It reinforces the fact that you're on your own.
That's exactly what it does. That's exactly what it does. And I say that wasn't meant to be a kind of a handy prelude to a plug for Talk Radio, but if you're on your Todd over the Christmas period, Talk Radio is a 24-hour station, and it's about real people speaking, and you're going to hear a lot of people calling in who are sharing that similarity. And the only advice I would give, and I'm going to have a funny Christmas. I've never had a Christmas without a dad before. And I'm going to have one this Christmas. I've never experienced that in my life. Don't know what it feels like at all. And I know my mum's feeling a bit kind of, iffy about that. And my sister certainly is, and obviously I'm no exception to that. But I've still got a family there, and I've still got mates around me. And the point I was going to say was that if it's any consolation, I think there's the whole mental exercise of trying to find a positive in a negative is, if it's worth taking time out and spending a few moments on your own just to try and find that positive, then as distant and as invisible as that darn chink of light appears to be, it is in there somewhere. I totally believe it's in there somewhere. It's not as straightforward as, every cloud has a silver. I'm not writing off like a catastrophic scenario, because some people's circumstances, you start explaining them, and they're so over the top and so embroiled in tragedy that people wouldn't believe you. It's the kind of thing you couldn't put in a book. No. Courses of events and series of events have happened to some people. I'm not trying to be down here. I'm not trying to be patronising. What I'm trying to say is that, there are some people who spend Christmas Day on their own, totally on their Todd, and began through a series of,